It all happens here. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, welcome in. Happy Sunday afternoon, everybody. Happy Mother's Day to you and yours. It's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff for the next 4 hours here on the Sports Hub. We're going to get to a whole bunch. Going to get to some Celtics, some Bruins. Haven't been on since those end-of-year press conferences, but we got a lot of time. 617-779-0985 if you want to join us. George Pulvita behind the glass. Dolph, how you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good. You get your Mother's Day stuff in yet? You do any of that? Happy Mother's Day to Mom and Dolph?
It's taken care of as far as the plans and the schedules and all that. So my mom's birthday is pretty close to Mother's Day.
Oh, so you do the double
I got to
up?
see her. I got to see her earlier, so I didn't, not that necessarily makes up for it. There's always been a strict no combining gifts or anything like that between the birthday and Mother's Day. We got to make sure it's two different events. But no, we got plans to make it up.
There you go. Yeah, I was able to see my mom before I came in here. And so she always says, it's funny, she will tell me that I always talk about my dad on the radio, but never her, which if I do, it's not an active thought process. Maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. So I figured I'd start off. As part of her Mother's Day gift, I also got her a hammock because my parents have a house out in Nantasket, and they just kind of redid all their outside furniture. She'd been saying for years she wanted a hammock, and I don't know why. They never bought one. So I figured, get a hammock, put it under the tree in the backyard.
Yeah.
So that was
Hammock tech must be good these days. You can just pop it out of the box and put it right in the backyard, right?
You would be surprised how many different kinds of hammocks there are. And so
down at the hammock district?
Yeah.
That Simpsons reference?
Yeah. Well, so because I'm not... my parents have like a certain style for like their furniture and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not a stylish person, as you can clearly see.
No.
So I'm... the surprise of the gift is nice, but I'm under the philosophy, like, I would rather her pick the one she wants than me, because I was looking on Amazon. They come in all different colors and this and that. And so I'm like, I'd rather she just pick the one she wants, and I'll still get it, like it's still the gift. And she was surprised when I told her, hey, I'm going to buy you a hammock, but I'm going to let you pick which one. But there's some that are like flat. And they have wooden bars along the front and the back, so they're perfectly flat. They don't bend in.
That doesn't sound comfortable.
I was not a fan of that. There's some that have they have the wooden bars on each side, so they're still supported, but the bars are curved, so there's more of a natural to it.
When I think hammock, I don't think bars. I don't want bars of any kind.
Then there's the one that wraps you up like a burrito, right?
That's what I'm thinking, a little cocoon.
Well, so we started going through all the different ones, and then we went with the one with not the flat with the supports on the end, but the supports on the end where it's U-shaped, because it's a little easier to get in and out of, and also that one came with a pillow.
Oh, there you go.
So that was hammock shopping today. But I think we got to come excited. It's coming Thursday. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to put it together. So
nice.
Looking forward to that. And I don't feel bad that it's not coming on Mother's Day, because they're doing their hosting. They're doing all that. My brother's still there. I got some other family there. And then it's going to rain all week until Thursday, so you're not using the hammock in the rain.
Yeah.
So the timing worked out perfectly. But for the other part of my Mother's Day gift from my mom, I figured I would share. We always do favorite sports story with your dad on Father's Day. I've done enough Father's Day shifts to do that, so I figured I'd do favorite sports story with my mom for Mother's Day, for part of her Mother's Day gift, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So my favorite sports story with my mom, I was 14 years old, and my dad was out of town. He's on a business trip in Vegas. It was like some big conference he'd go to every year. He always liked going to it. My mom was actually supposed to go that year. I don't remember what happened, and she didn't end up going. So instead, she ended up taking me and my brother with some family friends. I think there were about 10, 12 of us total, to the Red Sox game one of those nights that he was gone. And it was the first time I'd gone with my mom, the four of us, me, my mom, my dad, and my brother. But I'd never gone to a Red Sox game without my dad before. So it was, I was 14. It was kind of felt different. It kind of felt interesting, but we're having a good time. We're sitting in the first base line, just under the overhang there. So solid seats. And in about the sixth inning, my buddy taps me on the shoulder, one of the friends we went with, and goes, look at the line score. Look at the hits for the other team. We ended up seeing John Lester's no-hitter.
Wow.
And it was cool because this was after John Lester had come back from battling cancer. My mom, This was many years before when I was really little, but my mom is a cancer survivor. So John Lester was always her favorite player and one of our favorite players for our family. And we saw his no-hitter. My dad, to this day, and I'm going to Vegas, have fun, chaperoning the kids to the game and dragging them around, to this day is still mad about that. But that is, and it might be, especially in terms of games like I was there for as a fan. I went to the Super Bowl, but I worked it. That's different. In terms of games I attended as a fan, it might be my favorite game I've ever been to. Being at a no-hitter is cool. I've been to 2 in my life. I worked one when I worked on the Cape. I was the voice of the Harwich Mariners one summer. The team I was calling the game for got no hit by Devin Smeltzer. So I was on the other side of it.
Yeah.
We were trying to jinx him on the broadcast. He did apparently hear us. That's another story. But so shout out to my mom. Thank you for taking us to John Lester's no-hitter and taking us to McDonald's after for ice cream.
Yeah,
but that is my favorite.
Barth.
And it is almost the anniversary of that game, by the way. So it felt appropriate to tell because it's Mother's Day. It's almost the anniversary of that game. That was May 19th. It's May 10th. And John Lester just went into the Red Sox Hall of Fame. So shout out John Lester. Thank you for throwing that no-hitter. That was fun. And I appreciate going to that with my mom.
I wish he finished his career here, too.
Oh, well, I mean, that was my moment. I think we all have a moment.
Finished his prime years,
Yeah. But I remember, because when you grow up, your teams can do no wrong. Everything they do is right. You're a fan of the team, like blindly. And that's what you're like, you're a kid. That's what you should be. But I think everybody's had that moment where you realize, like, oh, like, I don't just want to, like, I can be critical. I can be upset with them doing things.
Yeah.
I was actually interning for Felger and Maz at the time on the TV side when the whole John Lester contract thing was going on. And them lowballing him and this and that. And I remember being like, hey, this isn't right. I don't like this. I know they're my team, but I don't like this. This is making me angry.
Cognitive dissonance, they call it.
That was kind of my first, like, oh, hey, these teams aren't all perfect moment. And yeah, I grew up in a very good era to wait that long into my life to see that. But and all the Red Sox issues now, I think, go back to that because they underpaid John Lester. They ran him out of town. So what do they have to do? They have to overpay David Price. He's a bum here. So then they got to trade for Chris Sale, which was a good move. But then they give him that contract, even though he was broken. And then they try to appease the fans again by side. And they've been chasing that John Lester thing for like 15 years.
I've been saying that. Yeah, Barth, you know that meme with the dominoes where
yes.
one thing leads to one bigger thing?
All goes back to underpaying John Lester.
All they had to do was pay John Lester. That domino effect was insane. They ended up winning a World Series as part of that domino effect, but still, they've been chasing great pitching up until the last couple of years because of that Lester situation.
And they've been chasing, hey, no, look, we'll pay big free agents versus like paying the wrong guys versus missing on the right ones. And it all goes back to John Lester. But we got that no-hitter. I'm glad we got that no-hitter. And he does belong in the Red Sox Hall of Fame. I'm glad they put him in.
Oh, definitely.
I'm trying to think of who else they put in. I think was Damon in this class?
Oh, there were 2 other inductees. I wish I had it on offhand.
Timlin, Damon, Lester.
Timlin.
And then Bill Miller, the moment. The Grand Slam in July of 2004.
Okay.
Oh, right.
That's fair. Timlin.
That was the 2 Grand Slams.
Oh, they also put Sherm Feller in the PA announcer. Yeah, it was both sides of the plate, right? Because he was a switch hitter. He was the first person to do it or the first person to do it in whoever. I'll say this, and no disrespect to like some of the guys that get in, but I always get, why don't the Patriots put more than one guy in at a time, blah, blah, blah. I kind of like that they do because it makes you put in the best of the best, and it makes it feel special. So, but Lester, I would have been cool if that weekend was all about John Lester. But good for him to get in. That's the last Red Sox no-hitter, right? Because Buchholz was 07. Buchholz, I think, was the year before.
Buchholz was before Lester?
Let's see here. I thought so.
Wow. I thought Buchholz, came into the league after Lester. So
he did Buchholz. Well, no, but remember Buchholz no hitter was like his second start.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was right away. Yeah. So Buchholz was September 1st, 2007.
And Lester wasn't established really as a top of the rotation guy yet.
No, well, because he was
stepped up big in the 2007 World Series, but he was regular season wise, he was sort of hit or miss.
It was also again he was a big prospect, but then he went and he had to get treated for cancer.
Yeah.
And he missed a lot of time. I think he went through chemo. And you don't know what that's going to do to somebody. The physical toll that takes. So it was hey, is this guy ever going to be the same? Now, I will say, as much as I romanticize that game, you want the, and no disrespect to John Lester, you want the Royals starting lineup in the no-hitter?
I can't wait for this.
Leading off, playing center field, David DeJesus. Mark Grudzielanek playing second. He was replaced in the game by Alberto Callaspo. Alex Gordon at third base.
They had solid.
Jose Guillen at DH, batting cleanup. Billy Butler, Miguel Olivo, Mark Taryn, I forget how you pronounce that. Esteban Germán and Tony Pena. So not exactly a murderer's row.
Billy Butler was pretty good.
Billy Butler was, let's see, should we see how that compared to John Lester? John Lester's game was for the Baltimore Orioles. Oh, wait, and that Royals team was 21-23. All right, so it was a 500 team. Buchholz against a 59-75 Orioles team consisting of Brian Roberts. I think this was during the steroids, so I'll give him credit there. Corey Patterson, Nick Markakis, who famously took strike one.
Yeah.
Miguel Tejada. I forgot Kevin Millar was on the other side of this one.
Wow.
Aubrey Huff, Scott Moore, J.R. House, and Jay Payton.
Jesus.
So not the best group
No.
there, but anyways, figured that would be a fun way. You have a favorite sports story with your mom?
I'm not sure I want to tell any of them on the air because a lot of them are negative and not negative towards my mom, but she's like a classic Fellowship of the Miserable Red Sox fan.
I gotcha.
I have a really good one. Shout out to Mom. Happy Mother's Day. The year where we collapsed.
2011?
Right. So they had the TBS Big Boy doll outside Fenway and all that. I took my mother to the second to last game of the season. I believe it actually coincidentally was a clay ball called start.
Okay.
But we ended up losing, obviously, which led to the collapse. And no, MLB on TBS, we did not make the playoffs that 2011 season.
So we did go to, I remember we went to a game, I think it was in 2000. They came back from, I think, 7 or 8 runs down in the 9th inning to beat, I think it was either the Rangers or the Angels, something like that. That might have been a Mother's Day
On
gift.
Mother's Day?
That wasn't on Mother's Day.
It's the Mother's Day miracle.
It might have been a Mother's Day gift. No, not the Mother's Day miracle.
Okay.
It was, I think it was in 2000 or 2001. They came back from like 7 runs down.
Wow, okay.
In the 9th inning.
That's pretty good.
That might have been a Mother's Day present. I don't remember, though.
That's a good one.
Sure.
That's a good one.
But yeah, no, she got into the Red Sox right around the Pedro Nomar era.
Okay.
And immediately fell into the culture at the time, which was we're still cursed, we're still Loserville, nothing's going right, nothing's going our way, and everything sucks.
My mom,
But I love her. She's great.
that's a good Boston sports.
That's
You
what
raised
I love.
Good
That's
Boston
why
sports.
she's
house.
a
There you
real
go.
Boston sports
Real
fan, if you
Boston
ask me.
sports fan. There you go. So you want to share your favorite sports story with your mom? 617-779-0985. I also do want to get into here before they get underway. It's a 1:35 first pitch. So if you're driving to the game, a little bit on the current Red Sox that have been left in this state because whatever it was 10, 11, 12 years ago, they didn't pay John Lester. We'll get into that next. Here it's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Boston sports, yeah, we got that covered. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Your thoughts of the rest of 2026 and if there's hope for this club?
There is. As long as we have talent and we keep them healthy, I think there is hope. It's unfortunate that we got off to such a bad start. But, we have been through struggles. And if anything, Boston knows for sure, after waiting 86 years and having our heart broken, it's how to stand up and fight.
That was Pedro Martinez this week. This weekend asked about the Red Sox. Alex Barth, Matt Dolloff here on the Sports Hub. And yeah, the Red Sox got off to a rough start. I think they have the same record as it's the same record as the Dodgers since April 26th.
Yeah, did Carabas say that?
Yeah, but I think that's more about the Dodgers not being great as of late. The Red Sox entered today 17-22. They are 8.5 games out of the division. They are in the wild card mix, but that's just kind of because the American League isn't good.
Yeah, league stinks.
There's only one non-division leader that's over 500. So the Rays lead the American League East at 25-13. The Yankees are 26-14. They're actually tied for first, I guess, technically. The Guardians lead the Central. They are one game over 500. The Athletics lead the West. They are 4 games over. That's it. That's all the teams that are over 500. The Mariners and Royals are both 19-21. The Blue Jays are 18-21. So the Red Sox are in it more by default than anything else. But isn't that all the more reason that they should make some headway here? You're not playing anybody. Here we go again with this. We did it with the Patriots. We did it with the Celtics in that horrible Eastern Conference. We'll get more on them in a little bit. Shouldn't the Red Sox be able to do the same thing? They're not the most talented roster in the league by any means. Shouldn't they have enough as the Boston Red Sox? And look, they'll play the Rays today. They'll wrap up this series, who are obviously one of those teams over 500. And then they have some NL games coming up. They play the Phillies and the Braves this week. But it kind of stinks that we can't write them off. We can't write them off because they're not playing anybody. So they should be in the mix. I think it's whether they're a good team or not, it seems like we might have a season here.
Yeah, I think we have a season at this point, right? There's a lot of parity right now. That's a kind way of talking about how much the league sucks to say there's a lot of parity right now.
There's a lot of something.
Yeah, but I think they have enough pitching to stay afloat, Barth. I think especially once Garrett Crochet rights the ship, I think he will. As long as Ranger Suarez stays healthy, they have the depth. Peyton Toley's coming up and looking great so far.
Hopefully
that's not speaking too soon about his start today.
The thing about Toley,
pitching-wise, they look good.
For me, they've had enough of these guys that they tried to turn into relievers or this or that they kind of dinked around with. And Toley and Early, it feels like not only are they just kind of, hey, your starters go. The other thing, how many pitchers have come through here, this goes back to Buck Holtz, but like Chris Sale, I put Brian Bayo in this category, that are like these lean, lanky, small guys, and their pitching program seems to blow out guys' arms. You got to have the frame for it. Peyton Toley's a tank. Peyton Toley's 6'6", 250. He looks like the kind of guy that can go out there and throw 7 innings every 5 days, and you don't have to worry about him, the wear and tear.
Right.
There's, that baseline, but and then Early's not that big, but he's a bigger guy too. These are just different kinds of pitchers than they've had, which I like. I'm glad they're invested in that like true workhorse again. And not, this guy, the spin rate is this, or the movement. How about a guy that just goes up there and throws, a guy that posts? And I feel like they're starting to bring some of those guys into the rotation.
I think they still want him to spin it, Barth. They're probably looking at the spin, right?
They probably are, but it's not, you can put a lot of spin on the ball if you put crazy torque on your arm and shorten your career to 3 years because your elbow's not going to be able to handle it, or are you naturally built to throw the ball that hard? Like, to me, there's a difference there. And I think Toley's just more naturally built for it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a sizist, Barth. I'm one of the biggest sizists at the Sports Hub.
Yeah.
That does extend to starting pitching. I love a horse at the top of the rotation. They have 2 of them, potentially. Crochet, and if Toley can keep this up. If that's your 1-2 punch for the next, several years, 2 big guys that you think can handle the physical toll and eat up a lot of innings, in addition to having the high-end stuff and the command, like that, your top of the rotation is set. So that's why I do think they can stay afloat. They have a high floor because they have the starting pitching as long as they're healthy and they right the ship and all that. They have enough bullpen talent, depth. I think they should be able to stay in the mix.
Yeah.
It just goes back to the offense part. They just didn't invest nearly enough on offense.
I was going to say, you're a sizist. How do you feel about Caleb Durbin?
Oh, my God. I do not feel great about him.
Remember on like opening day, Felger and Maz were instantly just like, yeah, this guy sucks.
Yeah, no. Felger actually knew Caleb Durbin.
That's right. From
following the Brewers. So I didn't follow, the National League Central. Just looking at his numbers, I was like, oh, this guy's, a backup utility type of guy.
Yep.
Nope, the Red Sox thought he was going to be the starter. That's not working out. In
the infield, you have Wilson Contreras is hitting 260. He's got 8 home runs. He's been fine. Marcelo Meyer at second is hitting 238, 1 home run. He's kind of struggled to get it going. You have Trevor Story at shortstop, who has fallen below 200. He's now hitting 199. And then you have Caleb Durbin at third base hitting $177. Oh, and just to round it out, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at 205. They really undersold this infield, which sucks. Because remember when they had that pipeline of like all infield prospects? Mm-hmm. And it was like, well, you got to trade some of these guys. There's a logjam. Where's the logjam? I missed the logjam. So they got to find another third baseman. Do they start moving Meyer to short? Do you start having that conversation of, hey, this is probably his long-term position? I don't know what you do with Trevor Story with that contract, with him kind of being the veteran in the room, but it's not working.
No, you got to send some kind of message to him, designate him for assignment, something. They got to eat the financial hit at some point.
Here we are again, 1 year later. Remember a year ago it was, they got to designate, they got to DFA Trevor Story, and then Alex Bregman fixed him. Good thing Alex Bregman's not here anymore, help these guys out. And now here we are again.
Yeah, look, I think the way they're built, even going into the season, this isn't revisionist history on my part. I thought they were about an 85-win team because of the lack of offense. They could beat bad. They can beat other bad hitting teams with their pitching, right? They're going to win some low-scoring games. Right. And I think if everyone gets rolling and everybody gets healthy, they can go on some runs here. Like, they've had little bursts since they fired Alex Cora. They just swept the Tigers the other day. So, they can get these little bursts if the pitching gets rolling, if, 2 or 3 guys get rolling at the same time. But I think at the end of the day, if you get into close games, you're going to need, big-name offensive guys to come through late in these low-scoring games, and they just don't have the horses to pull that off. So I think ultimately, at the best-case scenarios, they're just out of the playoffs. That'll give us a season, but, step back compared to last year.
And it is, they have the new manager bump. How much is that going to carry them? There's that part of it, too. Because it has been, it's been press conference season lately. You had the draft press conferences plus Vrabel's 2 impromptu things about the Rossini stuff. You had the Red Sox press conference after letting go of Alex Cora. And then you had the Celtics and Bruins end of year. That was all in the span of 2 weeks? I would say about 2 weeks.
When all 4 teams are having press conferences with management at the same time in April, that's not a good sign.
Who did the worst of those 4?
Ooh, I think it has to be Vrabel. The way they botched just having the 2 press conferences and all that.
Oh, I think it's the Red Sox. So maybe the mechanics of the Vrabel one, in terms of the message they delivered, I'm not sure how much there was for Vrabel to say.
Yeah.
Right? Especially once, he's going away from the team during the draft, all that. The Red Sox one, Sam Kennedy coming out and saying, I guess
the Vrabel one stands out more because it's such a big story.
The Vrabel one's a little different.
So unusual. I think the Red Sox, we've come to expect this.
Let me ask you,
I figured that press conference went exactly like I was expecting.
So which one made you feel the worst about the direction of the organization of the 4?
Oh, I mean, the Red Sox are at the bottom of the list.
Sam Kennedy saying...
I think the Patriots are still going to be a good football team.
Right. Sam Kennedy saying we're a front office run organization. Yes, Sam, we know. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Who do you think had the best of the 4?
That's a good question, Barth.
I think it's a no-brainer. I think one of the 4 crushed it. Now, look, they got to do everything they said. It can't just be lip service. But if they can deliver on what they said, I think they crushed it. I think they hit all the right notes. They gave me a ton of hope for the future of that organization. I'll tell you which press conference that was after the break. It's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. In this town, sports happens 24/7. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Who was the best? And that was Brad Stevens in the Boston Celtics. Dare I say, because don't get me wrong, Jason Tatum is fantastic. Jason Tatum is an elite player in the NBA. Brad Stevens might be the best thing the Celtics have going for them. Because as good as Jason Tatum is, there are other very good players in the NBA. A lot of them end up in bad situations. Brad Stevens, I trust to not ever put Jason Tatum in a bad situation. Some years might be better than others, certainly. Like last year was not the best roster they've ever had. But, case in point, like look at Giannis in Milwaukee, where there's nothing around him now, and the whole thing is just kind of a dumpster fire.
Right.
I cannot see the Celtics getting that point under Brad Stevens. So, look, people are getting angsty. They've had a couple of bad playoff exits now, but this one felt like it went to another level. They were healthy. They've owned the Sixers. Owned them in the past in the playoffs. They had a 3-1 lead. They blow it. And I think Brad went up there and was honest as the Red Sox give up. That's gone. Oh, that's wow.
People in the monster seats just turning around and looking.
Junior Caminero. You jinxed Tolley, Dolloff.
Yeah.
That thing was crushed.
He's a stud.
404, 105 off the bat.
Speaking of third baseman.
I know. How do you get a guy like that? Anyway, I trust Brad Stevens to put the Celtics in a good spot. He goes up, he does that press conference, and look, it would have been really easy to feed us the lines. I think the Celtics at times over the past couple of years, as they've had struggles, have fed us lines. I think in some ways that's their job, under promise and over deliver, right? You don't want to guarantee things you can't do. And that just to make the fans happy in the moment, it's only going to be twice as bad when you come back around and it doesn't happen. Look at the Red Sox case in point, right? But I thought he hit on, there were a lot of things I didn't expect him to say that he said. From kind of couching the emphasis on the three-pointers. And he didn't outright say they shoot too many threes. It was a good question from Maz and Jake Seymour, who asked about the play style. But he mentioned that they can't be taking bad threes. They need to get better looks. He mentioned they need to have more of a presence at the rim offensively, which they haven't had outside of Porzingis in years. Wouldn't you look at it? The year they had Porzingis, they won the championship. He was not as defensive of Joe Mazzulla as he's been in the past, which, yeah, that should be the case after the way that playoffs went, all of it. So we can get into some of the individual stuff, Dolph, but I thought he came out and was very realistic about the situation of the team. They're not in a bad spot, but they can be in a better spot. And it might be a little uncomfortable for them to get there, but that's the job. So I was really encouraged. I was surprised. Nothing against Brad going in. I never thought that badly of Brad going in, but you just don't see these teams be that forward that often. And I was surprised that he hit on as many notes as I wanted him to, and in the way he did.
Well, I'm not surprised that he handled it the best of all the GMs, owners, whatever.
Sure.
He's by far way better than the other guys, the Bruins guys, the Red Sox, at handling the media, and he's always even-keeled. He never puts his foot in his mouth. You never get that with Brad Stevens. So I'm not surprised that he handled that whole thing the best of everybody. And he's the best GM in town right now. There's no reason to not be confident.
Yeah.
That he's at least going to try to do what he needs to do to make the team better roster-wise, right? I know there's probably still a lot of people that think he should fire Joe Mazzulla yesterday. But that stood out to me too, Barth. I'm glad you mentioned that because it's probably just because I covered the press conference last year too, so it just kind of stuck out in my mind. Last year, he says, Joe's great. He's doing a great job. We want him to be here a long time. This week, it's, he can get better just like everybody else, but he's really good. So it's he didn't say anything particularly ominous about Joe Mazzulla, but I just think Joe Mazzulla's gone down just one little notch. Call it a half notch, a notch, whatever. He's gone down a little bit in Brad's mind, I think.
Last year, George, do we have that? Is that what that was?
A little more dunks drop to be sure, but now I have Stevens to be sure on the threes if you wanted that.
We'll get to that in a minute. Last year he was asked about Mazzulla and right away said we want Joe here. I don't remember if that was the exact word, but he was not just supporting the job Mazzulla had done, but came out outright and reaffirmed his job security.
Yeah.
We're not he didn't leave the door open to Joe even being on the hot seat, forget potentially being fired. Now, I don't think they're moving on from Mazzulla this offseason because if they were going to do it to me, you should have done it by now, right?
They would have done it by now, yeah.
But there were a couple times, he had a chance a couple times in that press conference to basically give the Joe's our coach line.
Yeah.
Joe's our coach, Joe's our guy, whatever you want to call it. We believe in Joe, we support Joe. And he never did. He never said they don't. He never came out right. I mean, he said Joe needs to be better like all of us need to be better. He never said, yeah, we're going to take a look at the coaching staff. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. But he came short of like guaranteeing anything either. And if you're Joe Mazzulla listening to that, how do you feel about your job security? And now we get to what has always been the big question about Joe Mazzulla. Will he make changes? Brad Stevens said he wants them to have more of a presence at the rim offensively. That's never been part of Joe Mazzulla's game. Again, outside of 24, when they won. That's my thing with the threes is, do they shoot too many threes? Like, you can contextualize that all you want. Like Brad said, yeah, we shoot, maybe too many of the bad ones, but you're not going to be red hot from three every night. And Joe Mazzulla loves to come out and talk about the analytics and the expected three-point percentage or whatever it is. And I guess that answer can fly on a, Tuesday night in December after you lost to the Nuggets at the end of a road trip.
No, the playoffs is not time for expecting things. You need to go do things, take things. You need to make it happen.
I say this across all sports all the time, Dolph. You've probably heard me say this. Bad teams don't have a way to win. Good teams, when they play their game, they can win. When they're locked in on their thing, they can win. Great teams can win multiple ways. Elite teams can win anyway. This year's Celtics team did have more than one way to win because we saw it during the regular season, but then they went away from it in the playoffs. Their only way to win games, the only way Joe Mazzulla wants to win games is shooting the three. When you go back to that run in 24, the three ball was still their primary weapon, and I don't have a problem with it being the primary option. Now, shooting more threes than twos over the course of playoff series is a bit much, but if you want the three to be, hey, we're going to build around, this is going to be our primary mode of attack, is shooting threes. Fine. It's got to be something. And, okay, what happens when the threes aren't falling? It can't be, well, we're just going to keep shooting them because eventually it'll come back around, we'll hit them. There's a human element that's not how that works, right? When they had Porzingis, there was a pick and roll, pick and pop, back to the basket element to their offense that they have really struggled to. I don't know how much they've even tried to replicate it, but when they have, it hasn't really been there. That you got to have something else. And maybe it's not the back to the basket. Like Stevens, again, sounds like he wants to be present at the rim. Fine. Whether it's that, whether it's Tatum and Brown slashing more and cutting to the basket more, which I think they're both effective at, especially Brown, you got to have another tool in the toolbox. And I feel like that's kind of what Brad Stevens was alluding to for a lot of his press conference when he talked about the way they play stylistically, when he talked about adding to the roster. It's just, he can give Joe the players. Is Joe going to do that? Or is Brad Stevens, are we going to see him? And maybe we won't see it, but is he going to micromanage a little more and come downstairs a little more? Right? More dunks, that kind of thing. So that was the encouraging thing to me is I think Brad Stevens wants the Celtics to be more multifaceted. And can Joe Mazzulla be the coach for that?
Yeah, so this is the frustrating part, Barth, to your point about the scales of quality of teams. The Celtics, the last 4 seasons, I think, going back to that 2023 playoff run when they lost to the Heat Game 7 at home, getting blown out, like that was the first big disappointment. And then they followed that up by winning the championship, so people sort of forget about that. But this has been going for the last 4 years. They've had the roster of a great, if not elite team. They play like a good team. Yep. They play like a team that we can only beat you if we shoot threes, which I think is ridiculous because they have a few guys where, like you said, the primary weapon, the three should be the primary weapon for Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Baylor Shireman coming off the bench. Like, those guys are three-point shooters, yes. It doesn't have to be the identity of the team. I think it's hurt Derek White. I think Derek White had, I think he had his worst shooting season of his career this year, all things considered, at least worse with the Celtics. And I think they've sort of put it in his mind that he has to shoot more threes than he needs to. And I think that sort of permeates the roster. I think Brad Stevens knows that. And he mentioned getting more of an impact at the rim. It's almost like he wants to force Joe Mazzulla to play more at the rim offensively. Like, he's going to bring in someone. This guy's going to start, and he's not going to shoot threes because he doesn't do it. I wonder if he's going to make a move like that.
That's going to be the story of the Celtics next year. Is how much is Joe Mazzulla? Well, we got to see what they do to the roster first. But if they can round the roster out more, it's okay. How much does Joe Mazzulla adjust to it? And then there's the looming question of, will Jaylen Brown be here for any of that? What will the roster look like for that? I want to get to that. We'll do that next. Plus your calls. You want to talk Celtics? 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. comes to Boston sports, we're fans just like you. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Brad, Jalen has expressed a lot of frustration in the immediate aftermath of the loss, and Tracy McGrady came out today or yesterday. Obviously, Tracy's close with Jalen and said Jalen has some frustrations with the organization. Have you felt any of those frustrations? Has he expressed them to you? Is the relationship with Jalen, has that evolved at all?
I talked to Jalen Monday a little bit after he just real quickly and was nothing but positive. He has not expressed those frustrations to me. We've been here 10 years together, and I do think that, obviously I love JB and everybody around here loves JB. And, I think just like any of our other guys, as we get to the end of the season, I'll be here and my door's always open. And if anybody ever wants to talk about it and talk about, their team, their place, whatever the case may be, I'm all ears. And that would be 1 through 16, not just, not just Jalen, not just Jason, not just the guys that have been here. I think it's really important to be available. So I certainly am, and none of that has been expressed to me.
Back here on the Sports Hub, Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff taking you up until 5 o'clock. You want to give us a call, 617-779-0985. It was Brad Stevens when he was asked about, so let's go back to the beginning of the week. Tracy McGrady, who's known to have a relationship with Jaylen Brown, comes out and basically says, I wonder, I've heard things maybe aren't all that great in Boston with Jaylen Brown. There's maybe some unhappiness with the organization. Then Brad Stevens gets asked that question, answers it because he hasn't heard any of that from Jaylen. Then Jaylen Brown does another live stream after Brad Stevens' press conference. I think it was the next day. Says he wants to play the next 10 years in Boston. He wants to retire here. But then we also get Evan Turner coming out, who's known to have a relationship with Jason Tatum, and saying, well, what if it was the other way around? Like, would they have gotten as far if Brown had, or would they have gotten further? It was Brown that was coming back from the injury, and Tatum was healthy and things like that. So the questions about this relationship are still out there. The Evan Turner? Yeah, let's hear the Evan Turner clip real quick here.
When we have to do a night and day comparison so I can give it to you so we can keep it real, I think what Jalen did this year with that team, going second and doing all this and third and killing it, I believe Jalen, that speaks volumes. I think if Jason, it were the other way around, I think Jason would be first in the East, and I think they would have made it out that game 7.
So first off, Dolph, do you believe that's coming from Jay? Do you think there's some maybe proxy sourcing going on here with Tracy McGrady and Evan Turner? We know whose camps those guys are in.
Yeah. There's back channel conversations going on, right? I don't know if there's specific directives. Like Tatum doesn't strike me as a guy that would put things out there with his little birdies to talk trash in the media. I never took them for those kind of guys, either of them, Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. I think they do have a good relationship, but I think when it comes to the whole debate of whose team is it, and Jaylen Brown might want to be the number one, and the hierarchy and all that, I think that can exist while they, respect each other and like each other and they're good teammates with each other and all that. I think it's, it's a business, not personal type of thing, I think.
Sure.
I think Jaylen Brown, this was his favorite year ever because he was the guy. He was the guy, and he proved that he can at least get you through a regular season with a high seed and not a ton around him. So as the number one guy and one of the top scorers in the league. So I think he established himself as a true all-NBA player if you put him in that role. I don't know that it's necessarily enough for him to be the number one on a championship contender. I feel like he came up really short in that game 7 down the stretch there at the very end. So that was a knock on him. But again, he was a finals MVP. But that was with Tatum. That was with a super team. So,
and what was the voting on that? I think it was like 6-5.
Oh, really?
Or something. It was really, I'll find. It was very close.
Oh, who was the deciding vote? I wish. Do we know that?
I can find.
I wish we could find the order of the vote that the votes were cast.
I don't know if you can find the order, but 2024 Finals MVP for Jaylen Brown, you had Sam Amick, Tim Bontemps, Mike Curtis, Vince Goodwill, Sean Powell, Simone Sandry, and Jeff Zilgit. Maybe this wasn't quite as close. I remember. It was 1, 2, 3,
7 of 11
4.
votes, it looks like.
7 of 11. Okay, so 7 of 4.
You had me on the first few names there.
Malika Andrews voted for Tatum. Doris Burke voted for Tatum. PJ Carlissimo voted for Tatum. And Gary Washburn voted for Tatum.
Yeah, I mean, that was a close one. I think Brown had more like moments, but Tatum is just a much better all-around player than Brown, in my opinion. I think it's funny, like that game 7, they missed Tatum. They missed like everything but the scoring with Tatum in that game. They missed his passing, they missed his rebounding, his defense. Like, he really makes the engine go in a playoff setting. And I just don't know that Brown, I think he's a little too erratic on the offensive end to really be the number one guy and have everything go through him. I think he needs Tatum on some level. But if in his mind he could be the number one guy on a team, and they're looking into a potential trade this offseason, apparently, according to the latest rumors.
So I want to get to that in a second real quick.
Yep.
Does he want to be the number one on a team, or does he want to be the number one on this team? Because I think maybe the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum relationship isn't the one we should be focused on as much as Jaylen Brown versus the Celtics. Does he resent Tatum that he's not the number one, or does he resent the Celtics that he's not the number one, or maybe even not viewed on the same footing quite as Tatum?
That's a good question. I think if he were to resent anybody, it would be the organization, because they drafted him first. They drafted him the year before Tatum.
And both third overall picks, right?
Both third overall. And so he's been in the league longer, obviously. He has more playoff accolades. He's got that finals MVP, even though, it came down to Washburn or whoever, Sam Amick.
Yeah.
You could thank him for that. So, like, he has the resume to say, like, I could be the number one here. But I think they've already decided that Tatum is their guy, the guy. And I think he needs to either accept that as reality or, accept that he needs to play somewhere else if he wants to be the number one.
So that's obviously a big part of it, right? Is I think they should, if they can, I think you keep Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown. Obviously you keep Tatum. Tatum's non-negotiable. Tatum's the untouchable. You're building this thing around Tatum. There's no, Jaylen Brown's unhappy, so trade Tatum to make him happy. Tatum's a better player. You stick with the better player.
Yeah, no, and the Achilles thing and the knee and all that, that's not even a consideration for me, honestly. Like, well, you want to move on from him before the knee blows up again? Like,
Jaylen Brown has a bad knee, too. He missed his time because he was better about it this year because he's playing for the attention. He's playing for being the guy, but he's had knee tendonitis, so he's not,
I agree with you.
Those
Barth.
issues there too, right?
I agree with you on Tatum. It's a matter of like they don't need to worry about getting a trade value for Jason Tatum. You're in with Tatum. He's the guy. You're going to ride it.
Right.
Is my point.
You're really, in terms of realistic trade, right? You're not trading Jaylen Brown straight up for Cooper Flagg. You're not trading Jaylen Brown straight up for Anthony Edwards, right? Nikola Jokic, any of these guys. I don't necessarily think you're going to do better, both in terms of talent and fit, because you notice there is a superstar elite player I'm leaving out there, who we'll get to in a minute. I don't think you're doing better in terms of talent and fit than Jaylen Brown on the court, as long as he wants to be here. What you can't do is drag this out if you know the relationship's broken. And based on what Brad Stevens said, you heard it at the top, things should be okay. I wouldn't waste more. Just same with Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla's got to have a hot seat because you can't waste years of this Tatum and Brown duo, this excellent duo, with a coach who doesn't know how to coach in the playoffs. And I know he's won a championship. He had a super team. Unless you're going to give him a super team every single year, he might just be Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
He might be the guy that can only win if it's perfect, and you don't want him dragging down the Jays for the next 3 years while you try to decide whether or not he's the guy. I think the same kind of extends to Jaylen Brown. If Jaylen Brown wants to be here, awesome. He's a great player. He's a great ambassador for the city. I think his skill set complements Jason Tatum very well. I'd love for him to be here. But if he doesn't want to be here and it's going to be a problem, and this is not easy, like this is, you got to really figure this out, then you need to move him. But I would only move him if he doesn't want to be here. But if he doesn't want to be here, I think you have to move him. You can't try to force it.
Yeah, like if the frustrations are real, Barth, then I think you do have to seriously explore that. And it sounds like they have. I mean, Chris Mannix said it was a very brief conversation with the Atlanta Hawks, which I think makes the most sense as a trade destination for him. He'd be the number one there, hometown, that whole thing. But here's the thing. Like, I'll give Brad Stevens credit for this, Barth. He did put Joe Mazzulla, he didn't even imply that Joe Mazzulla was like at the top of the list of the problems. Like he kept saying, we need to add, we need to improve the roster. I think he subtly said that like he needs to give Joe Mazzulla better players. Like, I think he thinks that's the biggest issue. I think that's my sense that he thinks that's the biggest issue. I don't know how they go about doing that, but with Jaylen Brown, look, he's going to make $57 million next year. He's going to be the 7th highest paid player in the NBA. Realistically, is he the 7th best player in the NBA? I think he's a little overpaid for what he's making right now. And so I know, like, if they make a trade for him where someone sends you a package, someone might say ponies for a horse, right?
Yeah.
Like, it would be great if you could make it work with Tatum Brown. But if the off-court frustrations are real, then you might be talking about sort of an addition by subtraction situation. That's strong. But if you find the right deal and you can get high upside players here and you can improve your depth, like they could swing a deal like that where both sides would end up happy. I'm not sure if the Celtics would net out being a better team, but it might make them a healthier team, if that makes sense.
All right, let's talk about what that might look like. We do got to get a check of the headlines. We'll come back. More Celtics talk. You want to join us, 617-779-0985. It's Barth and Dolloff on the Sports Hub.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, Dutcher and Hardy, Owen Beetle, Felger and Mass, the Bruins, the Celtics, the Pats, the Revolution. This is Boston's home for sports. WBC FM at HD Boston, 98.5 The Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Red Sox down 1-0 to the Rays in the second inning. Peyton Tolley on the mound for Boston against Nick Martinez for Tampa Bay. Junior Caminero with a solo home run off Tolley. NBA playoffs today. Knicks and 76ers, Game 4 coming at 3:30. Knicks going for the 4-0 sweep in that one. Spurs Timberwolves later, Game 3 at 7:30. San Antonio up 2-1 in that series. Stanley Cup playoffs. Sabres Canadiens, Game 3 tonight at 7. That series is tied 1-1. Golden Knights and Ducks, Game 4 tonight at 9:30. Vegas leads that series 2-1. In the Truist Championship is in the final round. Alex Fitzpatrick, your leader, at 14 under. Just teed off a little while ago. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by DN Van Lines. Take the chance out of your move and make the sure bet with DN Van Lines, an approved mover of the Department of Defense. DNVanlines.com. I'm Matt Dolloff. I'm Boston's home for sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next check of the headlines in an hour.
This is what happens when analysts take over the game, take over the sport.
This is where you talk sports.
It happens all the time.
The Sports Hub. The Bruins, the Celtics, the Patriots, the Sox, the Revs, and you. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
It feels like this split up is inevitable, and they're going to force Brad Stevens' hand. And that's Jaylen Brown to me. And look, I never want to see these two break up. I actually think they're very compatible. I think they can win multiple championships together. But as I've always been told since a little kid, ego is one hell of a drug. And as you keep winning at a high level, somebody feels like they have to be the guy. And it feels very intentional watching Jaylen Brown. He doesn't say things with lack of awareness. He's always very intentional with what he says. And what he's telling me and what I feel like he's telling the world is, this is a success when I'm the guy. You guys keep treating me like I'm secondary. I want to be the guy. And maybe he needs to go away. Maybe this could get passed over. But inevitably, we know who they both are. And it feels like it's like this. It doesn't feel like this is a long-term thing.
Talk Celtic or talk anything, 617-779-0985. We can start mixing it up. I want to get into the Bruins end-of-year press conference, too. We'll do that in a little bit. And we can bring some Patriots to the table, I suppose. I was down at rookie minicamp yesterday. But to keep going on the Celtic stuff and this Jaylen Brown stuff here, Dolph, I think they should keep Jaylen Brown if they can. It's just a matter of if he wants out, what's the best can you get for him? Obviously, the name that's been out there is Giannis. To what we talked about earlier, Giannis coming here would be a fascinating thing for me because it really puts Joe Mazzulla in the spotlight. Giannis coming here to be kind of like an athletic five and cut to the basket and play back to the basket and play the pick and roll game with Tatum would rule. That's not bombarding threes, though. And if they're going to bring him here and try to turn him into a three-point shooter, and he's going to shoot 23 from behind the line, but we're going to hear after the game every night from Joe Mazzulla that the looks were good, well, then I'd rather have Jaylen Brown because he can actually hit those shots. So it goes back to Joe Mazzulla's flexibility. But just in terms of the overall caliber of player, and I've never been a huge Giannis guy. I think he's more of a high-level athlete that plays basketball than he is a basketball player. Like, his technical basketball skill isn't on the level of what are considered some of his peers, but he's just so athletic.
He's the freak.
Right, exactly. And look, there's something to be said for that. At the end of the day, if you can just run faster, jump higher, be stronger than everybody else, you're going to have success.
Right.
But that's just kind of how I've always personally felt about Giannis. But, like, okay, like, you're probably not going to do much better than that if you're moving Jaylen Brown. Unless you're willing to part, are you going to do a package with Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser, and then is the guy of that caliber even available? But where do you stand on Giannis to the Celtics if Jaylen Brown wants out? Or even if Jaylen Brown wants to be here, do you like Giannis enough that you're like, yeah, if the Bucks want to do that, they should do it?
You mean add Giannis here without giving up Tatum?
No.
Like, do Tatum, Brown, Giannis?
No. Like,
is that even possible?
No, I'm saying, like, because I've said keep Jaylen Brown unless he wants out.
Yeah.
But if the Bucks call you and say Jaylen Brown, Sam Hauser, just a couple second-round picks for Giannis. Even if Jaylen Brown's like, no, I want to be a Celtic for 10 years. I want to be here. Do you do it?
I've been back and forth. I was talking about the Tatum health situation last break.
Yeah.
But that's your guy. That's your hometown guy, drafted, developed here. Like, that's why I'm saying ride or die with Jason Tatum. Little different when you're trading one of your other home ground stars for a guy that has his own, health concerns going forward.
Okay.
So if they get Giannis and his Achilles blows up, I'll be a little annoyed by that. I'll be a tad miffed if that ends up happening. But it also goes back to what we were saying earlier, that this would force Missoula to adapt.
Right.
He's not going to put
Hopefully.
Giannis out at the 3-point line.
Hopefully.
And look, I don't want to poke holes in Giannis's game. Giannis is what he is. Like, he's one of those guys where, like, he sort of transcends play style, coaching, whatever. Like, you make it work with him. He's that good. Offensively, like, he's a power forward. Like, he doesn't necessarily solve all your problems when it comes to playing at the rim. He'll give you plenty of offense. Right? But you're still going to need, I think, a starting center, a true starting center. Like Neemias Queta, for that. As well as he played this past season and he showed a lot of improvement. Ideally, like, if you want to win a championship, he's your first center off the bench. He's not the starter. Right. He'd be the starter if you're stacked at the other positions, I think, but that's not what we're talking about.
Especially when you look around the league now, like, the center's kind of having a bit of a resurgence. Obviously, Jokic, Wemby's not really a center, but who are you going to guard him with? You need a center.
Yeah.
And Embiid, if he's going to be healthy, like, you got to go through him. Like, the center's kind of coming back, so that is a factor.
Yeah. Brad Stevens, he might have said it multiple times. You need to make more of an impact at the rim. We need to play better at the rim. We like dunks. Like, he was hammering that, right?
Yeah.
And the tone suggested that, like, yeah, we need more of those, because he doesn't necessarily think they shoot too many threes. He thinks they shoot too many bad threes. And so my question for that,
by the way,
I wish I was there. I could have asked him, like, what is it that leads to them taking those bad threes? What is it that leads to them, not getting good enough looks? And I think it's just they're coached up to shoot threes. They're not prepared for situations when they're not falling, and they don't have that fallback option to go to the rim more often. Their best hope there is Neemias Queta. So they need another option there. If it's not Giannis, if it's not a Giannis blockbuster, then I think you can find a good starting center around the league that's a little bit of an upgrade over Queta and improves your depth and all that. So I think they need that. Like, Brown for Giannis, I'd consider it. If only to put the pressure on Missoula, like, they absolutely finally have to change their play style.
Like, I'm with you. Giannis isn't the best stylistic fit, even if Missoula is going to adjust just based on the rest of the roster. But if you're trading a player like Jaylen Brown, it becomes, well, who cares about stylistic fit? I'm trading a superstar. I need a superstar. And to your point, we'll make it work. It becomes that level of it, which is what makes it tricky. You, though, had another trade in mind involving Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, so I mentioned the Hawks earlier.
Yes.
Chris Mannix said that they talked to the Hawks. He said they had a very brief conversation with the Hawks last offseason about a potential Brown trade. Celtics weren't going to give him away.
Hi, here's how that went. Hi, it's the Atlanta Hawks. We want Jaylen Brown.
Click.
Brad Stevens. No.
Yeah.
Click. That's your brief conversation.
I think that's how that went. Yeah. And so exactly.
Hey, yeah, we have Trey Young. If you want Trey Young. Hello? Huh. Must have disconnected.
Yes, I mean, they found a taker for Trae Young, right?
Yeah.
But the Hawks, it makes obvious sense because of the hometown connection.
Yeah, I'm sure
he'd be a hometown hero, homecoming, all that. I'm sure he's into that idea on some level. They can figure out a way to absorb the contract, and they have a bunch of good, younger, cost-controlled players that they can package for him. I just think that the whole thing makes sense for the Hawks.
Who are these players? Hit me with these players.
All right. I need to pull up their salary cap real quick here. But their best player right now is Jalen Johnson, who's, Tatum light, I guess is how I describe him.
Yeah.
He makes $30 million a year. I think he might not have hit his ceiling yet. He might turn into a top 5-10 player in a couple years. So they might be hesitant to move on from him. But Dyson Daniels, good young point guard, really good defensively. Onyeka Okongwu is a good young center who I think could be your starting center. The interesting thing about Okongwu, Barth, averaged 5 3-point attempts a game last year.
Okay.
So Missoula might like him. I'm not sure that he would actually solve your rim
Is
problem.
he right?
They might
He's a center, but he's not the presence at the rim that Brad Stevens is talking about.
I like him. He'd give you offense there, but he doesn't rebound like you would want from a starting center.
He gives you more of what you
threes.
have. He doesn't add those areas that you're lacking that you're trying to improve.
And they also have Zachary Risache, who was the number 1 overall pick a couple years ago.
French guy, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Or, Swiss or something like that. He's still only 21. So that's a guy that makes sense as sort of – remember when the Thunder traded Paul George and they got the pick that turned into Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in that trade? This is getting the player back, but, this is a guy you're betting on him long-term where I think he has untapped potential offensively. I don't know if he'd eventually be sort of redundant with Tatum but maybe he develops into the player that he was expected to be as the number 1 pick, and then when Tatum is sort of on his way out, he could take over. Like that's sort of your long-term bet there. So I think they have players that sort of make sense where the news drops, we hit the sounder, they tell you the package. It feels underwhelming when it comes out, but I just think it makes a lot of sense for both sides from a basketball standpoint and from a business standpoint. I just think Jaylen Brown, if they want to stay under the luxury tax, especially Barth, if they were saying we're going to spend whatever we want, then fine, keep Brown, spend whatever you want. If the objective here is to improve the roster while also staying under the luxury tax, their best option might be to cash in Jaylen Brown for some cheaper, younger options.
Do you like that? How do you feel about that?
I wouldn't feel great about it, but I would come out of it saying this is the best they could do to improve the roster right now. They're in the win now window. I think that is sort of adding to the problem here. So I know that I was talking about long-term bets there, but the guys I mentioned would make an instant impact on
they're
the
not
team.
bad players, but like if they trade Jaylen Brown because he doesn't want to be here and he wants his own show and he's not going to be second fiddle to Tatum and you're worried about him causing a bigger issue with Tatum, like how Kyrie potentially ran some other guys, that like Kyrie made it a bad place to play. Other players wanted out. If that's why you're trading Jaylen Brown, I'm not saying that's where it's at with Jaylen Brown. But if that's kind of the sense they're getting, and that's sort of the picture that Tracy McGrady painted, or at least started to paint, like then yeah, I understand trading him. If you're trading him because you want to get under the luxury tax, I hate that. That's not what the Boston Celtics are supposed to be about.
We haven't touched on that with Stevens at all. Like that was the sense I was getting. I think Stevens is a little frustrated because he was. It's almost like he was speaking directly to ownership when he's like, we need to add to the team.
Billy Banners.
Yeah, we need to add to our team. They can't add to the team and then stay under the luxury tax. They have to spend. I think I'm not sure the exact rule, but don't they have to stay under the luxury tax 2 consecutive years?
Is that what it is? I thought it was just 1 year.
I thought it was 2 years. I thought it was 2 years. Maybe it's not consecutive, but they have to stay under the luxury tax for another year at some point to reset the repeater penalties, I believe.
I mean, look, there's some guys that like, because they're not, how close are they to it? They're not that close to it. They have $13 million in tax space right now is what it says. And then they have $21 million in the first apron, $31 in the second. So they do have a little bit of room. They're not expected to pay the tax right now. They are 62 over the cap, $62 million. Sam Hauser frees up $10 million. Can you find a center that makes $10, $11, $12 million and trade Sam? I don't know if they need Hauser and Shireman, right? Those guys are redundant.
Yeah.
So can you find a trade there that kind of helps net you out, something like that.
That's the thing. Like if they made that trade in theory with the Hawks, then you have almost too much depth now. Now you have to spin off some other guys, make another trade. Maybe they get a third team involved. Maybe that's how they make the upgrade or go from Brown to another star player. Because there was a report that about trading Jaylen Brown that they were looking for an upgrade wherever they could. Like, I forget. It might have been Sam Amick, our guy Sam Amick.
I would like that's you should be looking for if you're trading Jaylen Brown. But
how many players are an upgrade?
Right, that's going to be hard.
Giannis on paper.
Just real quick, some $10-ish million centers. If you're trying to just swap Sam Hauser for a center, 1-for-1. It's according to Spotrac. Where did it go? I just had it. Here we go. Steven Adams, Luke Cornett, Jonas Valanciunas, Brooke Lopez, DeAndre Ayton. So that's kind of the player you're looking at. What about throwing at you? No, this is off the top of my head. I think the money works, but maybe this isn't a great trade. I don't know. I'm just players. Jamal Murray, who remember was picked one pick after Jaylen Brown. Jamal Murray and Jonas Valanciunas for Jaylen Brown. And maybe the Nuggets throw in some picks there too.
Yeah, Murray had a great year, didn't he?
Yeah, and then you get another guard that's a little more ball handler. You get your true center, although I know Valanciunas, again, had a rough year, and you get some picks for the future. And the money's about even there. So they're still under the apron. That's probably it. That's probably your move for the offseason, but it's a move.
Jaylen wouldn't like that. He's still second fiddle. He's probably even more of a second fiddle, being second fiddle to Nikola Jokic out of Denver.
Here's the thing. If he's going to shoot his way out of town, I don't care how he feels. He doesn't have no trade. I'm not doing him any favors.
Yeah.
Right? If he wants to be here, great. But if you're saying, I want out, you're a blue chip player.
So that's what I wonder.
15 player in the league. Like, I'm getting the real return for you. Not one of these, well, I'll only go to 2 teams. You're getting nothing. I'm not playing that game if I'm Brad Stevens.
This is a real test for Brad because this isn't the Marcus Smart trade.
No,
he really needs to make this is truly a bold move. And that's why I'm sort of thinking out loud here. Like, he probably wants to do right by Jaylen Brown at some point. This is a guy that effectively won them a championship with the way he played in that playoff run. And so, like, you're talking about, like, shooting his way out of town and sending him to basketball Siberia. Not that the Nuggets are that, but, like, sending him to a situation he doesn't necessarily want to end up in. I feel like they're going to want to work together on the deal.
I mean, forget just that part. In terms of recognizing the dynamic, the human dynamic, and do we need to part ways with Jaylen Brown, or can we make this work? This offseason is a massive challenge for Brad Stevens. This will be the toughest offseason I think Brad Stevens has had since he moved into the Pobo role. And I'm fascinated to see how it goes. You guys are as well. We got some Celtics calls on the line, 617-779-0985. Quick break, then right to your calls here. It's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
It all happens here. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
I think the biggest thing is we will, like we normally do, take a little bit of time before we all meet and sit down and get together and determine kind of the best course of action for building, the best team that we can that's also sustainable over a long period. The one thing, as frustrating as last summer was for all of us, right, is because we were in it with regard to those aprons and in the CBA, and we needed to give ourselves more flexibility to create a longer window. And again, if you would have asked me last summer, the end result of that probably was going to hurt us this year. How that would be, again, I didn't know, and I certainly, again, wasn't going to put a ceiling on our team regardless. But it probably did. And so now we have to, use what we can to build this thing moving forward and add to it. Whatever moves that means, I have no idea. But I don't take for granted how good we've...
Talking about how they can improve the roster. Bob in Wilmington sees at least 3 places that they need to improve the roster. Bob.
Yeah, hi, Jed.
Hey.
The first thing that comes to mind is I think the coach is a little too arrogant. He needs to learn how to change his philosophy when time permits, when the need permits. The second thing is I don't ever want to see Tatum or Brown taking the ball out. Get up court, get in position to accept the pass. And if Derek White doesn't have the ability to say to them, no, the ball's mine or Pritchett's, then I would like to trade him for LaMelo Ball. I think that would be a hell of an upgrade for our team.
You want to trade Tatum or Brown for LaMelo Ball?
No, Derek White.
Derek White. Okay.
So why doesn't at 6'9", 6'10", wherever he is, why doesn't Tatum have a low post game?
He has a little bit of a back to the basket turnaround. He's not really a back down guy.
No, he has it.
Yeah,
I just don't want him to do it.
He doesn't do it a lot. He can do it. I would say the question isn't why doesn't he have one. Maybe if you want to say why doesn't he use it more, I could be in on that. Was that it?
Because he wants to do that crazy dribble at the top of the key and shoot a 3. This isn't the first time one of our stars didn't want to go in the post, but he needs to go in the post. Does he not get it that he goes in, scores 2, and gets the foul? That's better for our team than just taking a 3, even making it?
Let me ask you this, Bob. Do you think he's doing that because he wants to do it, or do you think he's doing it because it's what the coach tells him to do?
You know what? I don't know. But I think that I said this the other day to someone. I think Missoula must love museums because he likes everybody standing there like a statue. You know what? We have no movement. We have no motion offense. Bobby Knight would drop dead if he saw how we play.
Thanks.
It's just horrible.
Thanks for the call, Bob. Some good singing. I might use that one. Missoula must like museums because everybody's just standing there looking around.
Why is it so hard? He's working out his material. Love it.
All right. So the 3 things Bob wants Celtics to improve. I definitely agree with one of these. Another one I think is maybe miscategorized, but I don't entirely disagree. The other one, let's go through this. Coach is too arrogant, needs to be more willing to change up his style. Yep. And I think he might actually finally get his feet held to the fire on that this year.
There's probably a little bit of arrogance, stubbornness, however you want to describe it.
I think it's more stubbornness than arrogance, but yeah.
I also just think he's a young head coach. He got thrust into this role way earlier than anyone thought he would.
Okay.
And then
So, me and Evan Lazar actually had this debate this week on Catch 22, if you can believe that, on Patriots.com. Me and Evan host a 2-hour-a-week, very nerdy Patriots podcast that got a Celtics caller this week. And independent of that, Evan's argument was that Joe Mazzulla maybe needs to be more seasoned in the playoffs, needs more experience. I'm not giving him that break anymore. I'm sorry, I'm not. He's coached a team to a championship. He was the assistant on another team that went there. He's been the head coach for 4 playoff runs. They've had bad exits in 3 of them. I'm not I don't know how much more benefit of the doubt he gets in that. He's still young. He's still inexperienced. Sure, he doesn't have 20 years like some of these guys, but he's not exactly bright-eyed and bushy-tailed either. He's been through this a couple of times now. And has he learned from those experiences? It's tough to say. And I'm not saying he should be the finished product of himself at this point. I'd like to see a little more growth from him than I've seen when it comes to the playoffs.
This year was alarming because this was an opportunity for him to show that he learned from last year, right? And then it got to that Game 7 situation where you're without your best player. You got to come up with something where the coaching sort of makes the difference on the margins in this game. Because you got into the start of that game and all of a sudden, the Celtics don't have Tatum, but the Sixers have Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey all healthy. It's now all of a sudden the Sixers look like they have the better roster in that game. And Joe Mazzulla compounds the problem by starting, was it Luka Garza?
He started, he started
Shireman and Ron Harper Jr.
Ron Harper Jr. Nothing against Ron Harper Jr. Personally, that lineup hadn't played together all season. He started a G League player in Game 7. And by the way, got close at the end. If they hadn't gotten raced out of the building to start, maybe they're still playing. That was ridiculous that he did that.
9-0 to start the game, 3 threes, and then a turnover where Jaylen Brown throws it into the front row. Yeah.
Yeah, because they didn't have any chemistry with each other because they never played together.
Correct. And then that squad that we're talking about that started, the Garza, Shireman, they went 0 for 12 and 11 threes.
Should have never happened.
Yeah, so I know you said he won a championship, Barth, but they could have won a championship with a shoe as their
He won
head
a
coach.
championship.
A pigeon could have coached that team
with a super team. And that's not take away from Tatum or Brown. It's a super team because those two guys are really good. But they also had Porzingis, who was really good, and Halliday, who was really good. Peyton Pritchard kind of ascended. That was the year he really ascended, right? I need to see more from. I'm not willing to write off. Well, Joe Mazzulla's just young. He's still learning. This was the year to show what he had learned had actually changed him. And I didn't see it in the playoffs. So, for whatever that's worth. Number 2 for, what's the caller's name? Bob? Bill? Bob. Number 2 from Bob. Tatum and Brown need to bring up the ball less. Why isn't Derek White bringing up the ball more? I would love for them to have a traditional point guard. Derek White's probably the only one they have on it. Even Peyton Pritchard isn't really like a traditional point guard.
Does that player even exist anymore, Barth?
So that, and also,
I think teams just have their best player bring
all
the ball
the elite guys bring it up. Giannis does it, right? I think Bam Adebayo does it in Miami. He's a center.
I think Jokic does it.
Jokic is one of the best passers in the league, even though he's a center.
But he's not a point guard.
But he's not a point guard, right?
That traditional pass first, he always brings the ball up point guard. That's not really even a thing.
So LaMelo Ball is one. But LaMelo Ball is also probably the best player on that team. And so is he bringing it up because he's the point guard, or is he bringing it up because he's the best player on that team? If that team were to get a legit, if Jaylen Brown were to end up there, right, and LaMelo Ball didn't come back to Celtics, who's bringing the ball up? Probably Jaylen Brown, at least sometimes. So that's one. Look, I agree. I miss the true point guard. I think it's funny. We talk about the point guard, the true distributing point guard now more in football than we do in basketball. We use it talking about quarterbacks. I'm with the caller. That's just not what the NBA is anymore. And I think, especially coming back from the injury, Jason Tatum was so good off the ball. So good. I wanted to see that more. I think that one is just, that's what the league is. Oh, well.
I think they do need playmakers, though. Like I said earlier, I think they really missed Jason Tatum's playmaking and facilitating ability.
Another upper echelon passer on the floor with Jason Tatum. I don't know that they have that, at least not consistently.
Because there is so much, they're not going to stop driving and kicking out for the open three. They're going to need guys that can execute that. They need guys that can move the ball consistently, because there's a lot of it is about ball movement, to move it around until you get the open look, right?
Yeah.
When they're at their best, they're doing that. They don't have enough guys that can do that consistently. They have too many guys that just shoot. Too many guys like Hauser and Pritchard, they just pull up and shoot.
They're just dead ends for the ball.
Right. They need guys that are willing to move the ball and can do it accurately and efficiently.
By the way, in the chat, Joe Museum Mazzulla has a nice ring to it. And then number 3 from the caller was Tatum needs to develop a low post game. I think he has it. He just doesn't use it. And again, I think that's probably the coach. I wonder if Tatum and Brown and I get it, it's tough. They weren't these guys when they first started working with Joe Mazzulla, which was essentially the beginning of their careers. This is under Ime Udoka, and we're going back now. But at a certain point, as a superstar, you kind of need to tell the coach, okay, I'm going to play my game.
Right.
And the back to the basket stuff from Tatum, he's not bad at. I like that. The thing I really want to see more from him and Jaylen Brown is playing downhill, is getting the ball in the wing or in the corner and attacking the basket. And I don't need that true back to the basket game from them. Again, I think Tatum can do it. I like those guys as slashers. And then at the caller's point, get the dunk and the foul, and you still set up a three-point play. So I want to see those guys attack the basket more. It became more of a part of their game this year in the middle of the season when Tatum was out for Jaylen Brown to do, and they went away from it in the playoffs. I would like to see that become a much more, not just of a part, but more of a staple of their offense. And because you know what that's going to start to do if you're worried about them cutting to the basket, defenders are going to start to play off, and they're going to start to play back. And now you could shoot some more of those threes, and you're going to put them in conflict. So that's what I'd say about the post game. The back to the basket turnaround stuff, every once in a while is fine. I'm not like itching for it. The slasher stuff, the cutting to the basket stuff, that's what I need to see them doing more.
Yeah, for me, it's the same. It's more about being aggressive, driving to the hoop more. But every team has the ability to do that. I think every NBA player has the ability to drive to the hoop in some form or fashion. Some guys are better at it than others. Some guys are faster than others. Everyone can do it. The Celtics don't do it, and they don't want to do it, it seems. But I think
is that the players or the coaches that don't want to do it?
I think it's more Missoula, honestly.
I'm with you, and I think that's an important distinction.
But I think he does have a few guys off the bench. Like I think Peyton Pritchard wants to pull up and drain threes.
Yeah, no, you're going to have your microwaves, certainly. Yeah. But I think that the star players attacking the basket is something that they have not emphasized as much as they probably should. Especially Jaylen Brown, when he gets downhill, he's a freight train.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him doing that.
I think that's the best part of his game.
Yeah.
I think it's the best part of his game. I really wish he did it more.
Because if he stops moving and then he starts trying to handle the ball, then you're just waiting for the turnover to happen, right?
Get downhill, put your shoulder into somebody, make him square you up, and take the charge. And that's not going to be an easy charge to take.
And this is my point. Like, I think anyone that wants to win in the playoffs, you have to have that aggressive, physical kind of game. More often than the Celtics do. You can't win just by being a jump shooting team. You got to be aggressive. You got to draw fouls, wear the other team out, force guys to play defense, target guys that suck on defense. Like, it's just frustrating that they don't do nearly enough of that. And I feel like they front run their way to a championship a couple years ago, as our colleague Joe Murray famously predicted. They won the championship, yes, but they were never challenged. When they get challenged and the games get close and tight, it feels like they're not prepared. Like that's why I go back to the coaching, because I don't think he prepares them for those situations. They don't adjust. I'm not sure he even plans to adjust. I think they set the plan forth and just let the math, figure it out. The math will work itself out. Doesn't work that way in a 7-game series when you're facing the same team at least 4 times, if not 5, 6, 7 times. And then the other team is adjusting. The other coach is changing his plans, changing his lineups and things like that. You can't just stay the course and do what you do and expect to win 4 playoff series. And I think that's the main reason why we've seen them come up short against inferior teams 3 out of the last 4 years. Like, I get it. I don't think Joe Mazzulla has done as great a job as the championship would suggest, but I just think that play style is not going to win. If they have to change that. Yeah, not sustainable.
Not sustainable at all. 617-779-0985. You want to talk Celtics? I do want to get into some of the Bruins stuff too. Not just the end of your press conference. Is David Pastrnak making his push, angling for that C, turning the A to a C on his sweater? And the Red Sox are losing 3-0 already, if you want to complain about that too. Also, put on the table your favorite sports story with your mom. It is Mother's Day. Put that out there earlier. Went to the John Lester no-hitter. My mom. Maybe my favorite sporting event that I went to as a fan in my entire life. So all that's out there. 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5.
Boston sports, yeah, we got that covered. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Brad, do you ever feel like you shoot too many threes?
The bad ones, yeah, sure, yeah. But I don't. Like for me, it's again, Tony. I look at every shot, and so for me, it's evaluating each and every shot. But yeah, if we come down and shoot a really tough contested three when a guy's wide open at the rim, or if we have an action that we can get to, sure, yeah. I mean, I think anyone would say that. I think Joe would be the first to say that, and I also think that. We have to do our best to generate the best possible look we can. But yeah, I think we all would love dunks. I would.
Questions.
Felger Ramez School of Journalism.
That's right. I was the first graduate of that. If it twerks, it works.
You graduated?
I thought they said I graduated. Maybe not. Maybe I just attended.
Yeah.
That was the Stephon Diggs boat story.
Oh, God.
But
yeah, they weren't up to date on how our website is designed and all that.
Yeah.
I was golfing up on like a mountain, and I was getting texts. Felger's talking crap about you. I was like, what did we do? What did we do?
That's a 98.5thesportshub.com is where you'll get a cleaner look, I would say.
Yes.
Go to the website. Go right to the website. We've got it all right there. We've got, what is number one on the website right now? I should know this probably. It's my rookie minicamp notebook. Would you look at that? Nice. Check that out.
Nobody else is playing.
That's true. But Maz went down there to ask the hard-hitting question, do the Celtics shoot too many threes? It is kind of good. We got Brad on the record on that. And I liked his answer. He didn't get defensive. He didn't go into the analytics. They need to get better looks. And again, as I said before, my thing about the too many threes is not the raw number. It's, I don't mind if the three-pointer is your primary weapon. And if you're towards the top of the league in threes attempted, that's fine. When they're not falling, or even when they are falling, just can you be multidimensional? It just can't be the only way you succeed. It can't be the only way you attack an opponent. That's the big thing for me. You want to shoot a bunch of threes, shoot a bunch of threes. Just mix in some other stuff, too.
They have to. Sorry, Brad. They have to adjust. You have to adjust in-game, in-series, things like that. You can't just rely on the math and the law of averages to just work itself out. Like, over the course of 82 games, yes. But things tighten up here, and the competition level rises. And Joe Mazzulla has shown barely any signs of growth from year to year. I think that's the most concerning thing about this latest loss, where it arguably got even worse. They're losing in the first round, and that starting lineup. Like, it doesn't even feel like he didn't learn anything. It felt like he took a step back.
Ethan in the car is something else that's concerned me about the Celtics and the Bruins. Ethan.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Aside from the 2024 championship run for the Celtics, it seems like they kind of laid an egg on their home floor. I don't know. It seems like they play tighter from the eye test, and they seem to play looser on the road. I'm not sure if it's because of the coaching or the players themselves. I just want to hear what you guys think. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Ethan. It's true. Ever since they got rid of the yellow seats, and I'll tell you this, I was at Shane Gillis on Friday night. Awesome show. We were I got to know the guy sitting next to me very well. Those black seats, we were up in the 300s. It's a tight, me and my buddy are trading off. Now, my friend has wide shoulders, but we were trading off. Like, I'm leaning forward and he's leaning back, and then he's leaning back and I'm leaning, because like we couldn't both lean back because there wasn't room. It's so tight. So on top of that, just the yellow seats looked better, but it hasn't been the same for the Bruins or the Celtics since the yellow seats. Do you think these teams are a little tight at home, Dolloff?
Seems like it, right? Well, I think I don't think that's necessarily just a Boston thing, at least in the NHL. Like, I think the Sabres played better on the road than they did at home in the series as well. Like, it's not just the Bruins playing bad at home. I don't think the Sabres necessarily looked great at home either. Okay. They're just more talented than the Bruins. And so they won out. They were able to win enough home games to push forward in that series. But, yeah, like the crowd starts to get a little antsy, gets a little tense, and they start screaming at you to shoot the puck. Like, I understand why it might get to the guys sometimes, and it feels like maybe you can be a little looser when you're on the road. There's not as much pressure of the people you're trying to perform for. So I think it's a thing. I don't know how you fix it, but I think it's a thing.
Well, and it becomes a self-feeding thing. I think Ty's talked about this, right, with the Bruins, that The crowd knows the history, so they're tight, and that makes the players tight, and the players are tight, so they don't come out as strong. So then the crowd gets tighter, so then the players get tighter. It's a snowball.
Yeah, it feeds into itself, yeah.
No, but and I don't even mean this to like the fans are fine in terms of it's not like it. Remember a couple years ago, I think this was the 24 season, that first round playoff series against the Cavs, it was like quiet. They weren't sellouts. Like the crowd just wasn't into it. And because it was a non-competitive series, it felt like the preseason. It was a non-competitive series. Donovan Mitchell, I think this was the Cavs. I remember they played the Cavs. I'm trying to remember if that was the series. Donovan Mitchell tapped out early. They were blowing the doors off of him in every single game. And it was just like, all right, like get us to the next round. Oh, no, it was the Heat. It was that Heat series in the first round where it was, they won the first game by 20. And they did lose at home. But then they went on the road. They won by 20, and they won by 16. And I remember coming home for Game 5, and it was okay. It felt like a Tuesday night in December. So it's not that anymore. And I remember people saying at the time, oh, Celtics fans aren't really into it, blah, blah, blah. People weren't into that series, but it was because the talent disparity was so wide, it was hard to get into.
Right. And you start killing teams, like people tend to disengage from the game.
You can't keep that energy high.
You're not on the edge of your seat, locked down on every play and popping every time something good. You're just relaxing and having a party.
We won. Right. It was a very different vibe. It wasn't bad.
It turns into a tailgate, basically, once you're killing a team.
That's a good way to put it.
That's the vibe. It's more of a tailgate vibe than a, oh, my God, what's going to happen.
But now it's not that. The crowd's like sold out, loud, intense crowd, but it's just, it's tight. It gets a little tight. And I do think it translates to the floor or to the ice. How do you fix it? Play better? I know that's not really the answer. I think this is one of those winning cures all things. I don't know. Do you just tell the fans, hey, we've had trouble winning at home, and the game may not start out the way we want it to, but buck up, everybody.
That's what Pasternak
We still need you, right? As we'll get to Pasternak in a minute, but I don't maybe everybody's just uncomfortable in those narrow seats. I don't know how you fix it.
I think it's still in our DNA to be nervous about everything. Our baseline is nervous. We still come from, our roots are still the fellowship of the miserable. We're just convinced that everything's going to go wrong. So the second something goes wrong, everybody gets a little tight. And so that you can feel the vibe. You can feel that energy in the building. I want to give Bruins fans credit, though, real quick, Barth, because I was in the building that night in that last game after David Pasternak begged them to be patient. There wasn't much shoot the puck going on in the crowd. Okay. I think they knew the assignment. They showed up and they were allowed to start, and then they quieted off because the Bruins weren't playing well and they gave up the first goal. And so, play better. Don't give up the first goal if you don't want the crowd to be taken out of the game. But I think they let up a little bit. I think there was a good compromise in the crowd. I think the Bruins, it's a talent issue. I think the Celtics, I think it's more of what's going on the court than what's going on in the stands, to be honest. I think it's more of an issue with the Bruins. But, I think it can get a little intense, and some guys can handle it better than others. I'm just not sure that either team has totally the makeup to deal with that, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it's the driving issue of what's gone wrong in the playoffs. Like the Celtics didn't play well in New York last year. The Bruins, they had one good game in Buffalo. Didn't they blow a multi-goal lead in Buffalo? Oh, no, they almost did. That was that game
in Buffalo,
2.
They blew the game 1 in the third period.
Oh, that's right. And then in game 2, they almost did it again. They allowed, 2-3 goals? They were up big.
Yeah.
They allowed 2-3 goals in the last 10 minutes.
The Sabres were 8 minutes away from losing 2-0 at home, and then Tage Thompson just took over that game. Never heard from him again the rest of the series. That was sort of just a weird little burst from him. The home teams don't. It's a Stanley Cup playoff thing. I feel like I want to see the numbers on that.
Tight.
I want to see the numbers on Game 7s. I feel like the road team has a better record than you might expect in Game 7s overall. I don't think it's necessarily just isolated to the Bruins. I think it's just that is such an intense environment, and one little mistake can swing the whole game. Right? It's a little different from basketball, but. Yeah, if you pack the house and everybody gets loud and everybody's on the edge of their seat, you got to learn how to either block it out if it gets to you or feed off it. And so I don't think they're not calibrating themselves to the crowd the right way, I don't think.
I do want to get more into the Bruins and the post-game press conference and what they can do on the ice, and do they have a captain and all that. So if you want to talk Bruins, with Matt Dolloff, one half of the Sports Hub Underground podcast. Have you guys done your end of year? Yeah, you did that the other day, right?
Yeah, that's
so.
Go check that out.
Check that out. But if you want to talk Bruins with one half of the Sports Hub Underground podcast, 617-779-0985. We'll get into the bees after this. Here, it's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
It's
champion Boston Celtics.
All the way three, and he hits
WBC FM and HD Boston 98.5. The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines.
Red Sox down 3-0 to the Rays in the sixth inning. Peyton Tully got the start today. Junior Caminero hit an early home run. Wilson Contreras left the game with a hand injury after getting hit by a pitch. NBA playoffs today. Knicks and 76ers game 4 coming right up at 3:30. Knicks going for the sweep. Spurs Timberwolves game 3 at 7:30. San Antonio up 2-1 in that series. Stanley Cup playoffs. Sabres Canadiens game 3 tonight at 7. That series is tied 1 game apiece. Golden Knights and Ducks game 4 tonight at 9:30. Vegas leads that series 2-1. And the Truist Championship is in the final round. Sungjae Im and Christopher Rayton currently tied for the lead at 13 under. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by DN Van Lines. Take the chance out of your move and make the sure bet with DN Van Lines, an approved mover of the Department of Defense. DNVanlines.com. I'm Matt Dolloff on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next check of the headlines in an hour.
deep three. Violent two-hand slam. Wow.
98.5 Sports Hub. In this town, sports happens 24/7. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
When you look at this roster, do you think that you guys have enough high-end talent or star power? You said you want to be more than just a playoff team. You want to be a contender. Yeah. Do you think you need to add more high-end talent?
Yeah. We got bounced in the first round, so yeah, we need more talent. We need more speed. That's something that we have to try to acquire one way, shape, or form. But you look at the elite teams in the league, we're not there. And like I said 2 years ago, when we stripped it down like we did, you're not going to be there in one season. So it's going to take some time. But what we accomplished this year, I give the guys credit, but it's like I said early on, it's building blocks. So we've got work to do to improve this club still.
I asked you before, Dolloff. It's Alex Barth, Matt Dolloff, taking you up until 5 o'clock on the Sports Hub. I asked you before who did the best job with their end-of-year press conferences. You know what the real answer is? 98.5 The Sports Hub. We had Maz go down to the Auerbach Center and ask Brad Stevens the question that all Celtics fans that aren't totally delusional have had. Does the team shoot too many threes? Little alley-oop there with Jake Seymour. Does a great job for the website, asking about the play style. And then we have Ty go down to, why am I blanking on the Bruins practice? Warrior.
Yeah.
Right? That was at Warrior, right? Or was that at the Garden?
I'm not sure. Usually they hold those at the Garden, at the Legends. Or
Ty went somewhere. Ty schlepped himself out of his house, went somewhere, put in the effort, goes down, and asked Cam Neely about adding talent. And how many times at this press conference, Dolph, the last few years, have we heard about physicality and edge and the big bad Bruins, and they signed Tanner Jeannot to that long-term contract last offseason? Like, they're clearly trying to be one thing. And it's, well, where's the speed? Where's the talent? Where's the speed? Where's the talent? Are you surprised Cam Neely went right there? Because we finally got it. Boom. We need to be faster. We need more skill. I'm kind of translating here, but that's been the biggest talking point around this team, as best I can recall, and you would know better than me. That's the first time somebody of Neely's level has acknowledged that they're lacking in those regards. Is that lip service, or are we going to see maybe a little change in philosophy here?
More talent. We need more speed.
Cam Neely doesn't strike me as a guy that would lip service.
No.
So
No.
I think he tells it I think he gives it to you straight. And yeah, this might be the first time I ever heard those words come out of his mouth. Talent, speed in the same sentence. We need that. Because, yeah, like you said, we're used to every year, every offseason, we need to get heavier. We need to get bigger. We need to be harder to play against. That's something they always like to throw at you. They did that last year. Didn't exactly become all that much harder to play against necessarily. So I wonder if it's finally dawned on Cam Neely, because for all the grief...
Was that intentional?
Why? What was
dawned
that
on Cam Neely?
Oh. Yeah, I wonder who really runs the show there. Yeah, no, look, the whole idea about playing physical and being hard to play against, and I do think that tends to come down from Cam Neely. I don't think Don Sweeney looks at a hockey club and says we need to be filled with guys that are hard to play against and are big and physical. Like, I think that's a Cam Neely thing. And so if he's actually seen the light and he realizes that he needs to add some legitimate high-end talent to what he already has. And it's not to say that you don't need toughness. You don't need to play physical. I think you need to be able to at least hold up to the physical toll of playing in the playoffs and just playing in the corners and like just the slow grind of it, not necessarily hitting or fighting or that whole thing. So you need guys that can handle the physical toll of the playoffs. But you do need high-end talent and high-end skill. You need much more than what you have.
The idea is you have some bullies on the ice to open up room for the skill guys and not just bullies on bullies on bullies.
Yeah, look.
I think you need them. I don't want them to be all small, skill, quick guys either. I think that opens itself up to some serious issues. It's all about balance. They're just seriously leaned in one direction right now, and they have been for a long time.
Yeah, and like you look at a team like Florida that humiliated them 2 years in a row in the playoffs, just the way they played on the ice, They have the perfect mix, I think, of skill and guys that can play that with that physical edge and forecheck and all those things. Like, that's the ideal setup is something like what Florida's doing, because not every guy is going to be the perfect player. Like, you're going to have to mix in some undersized guys if they have the speed and skill to make it work. But look, the decision-making in the back end was not where it needs to be. The physical play in the back end on defense especially is not where it needs to be. But up front, you need guys that can skate, shoot, and score. Those are arguably the three most important things to do in the game of hockey, is to skate, shoot the puck, and put the puck in the back of the net. Like, that is the object of the game, right? You can't win without either one. I think balance is ultimately what wins in the playoffs. The teams that can do both things, but Bruins have not had nearly enough of the offensive thing, and I think it's finally dawning on Cam Neely, not to use the pun again, but they can't get by playing just that heavy packeting game and expect to have success in the playoffs. You got to get more talent.
So big picture coming away from that press conference, like I said before, I actually feel they have some hills to climb. They have some bridges to cross. But I felt better about the state of the Celtics after that press conference than I did going into it, coming off the Game 7 loss to Philly. After the Bruins press conference, the whole thing in totality, that's the answer. I highlighted, I think that was the big one. We'll get to some of the Pasternak stuff as well. But do you feel better or worse about the Bruins, call it 3 to 5 year window or 1 to 5 year window now than you did going into that press conference?
3 to 5 year window is a good window because look, you look at this team, if they want to win, if they want to get past the first round, even the second round, like I think other than that cup final run, they haven't made it out of the second round under Sweeney. Like, I don't think they've even made a conference final, if I'm not mistaken. They lose in the second round pretty much every year.
What year did Sweeney
2015. So they missed the playoffs a couple of years, got back in, lost in the first round, and they lost to Tampa in the second round.
Yep.
They lost to Carolina a couple times in the second round.
I have it right here if you want it.
Sure.
First, second, cup final. Second, first, second, missed playoffs first.
Exactly. So, like, if you want to get past the first or second round, you got to build around Pasternak. I know there's been plenty of talk about changing the DNA, changing the culture, like making a hockey trade. And obviously a lot of people have brought up their Pasternak trade ideas, or just the idea to trade him in general. I think if you want to have success, you got to build around the guys you already have. And it's not necessarily that David Pasternak has to be your captain or your best player or anything like that. He has to be the identity of the team. Like, I get it. You could use a shakeup in terms of your identity and add guys that have had more success in the playoffs and guys that you can rely on in the defensive end and guys that are proven scorers this time of year. Like, you need all that stuff. But I don't think they're going to – I think you're basically treading water if you trade Pasternak for another top-end player. Everyone bringing up the Pasternak for Brady Tkachuk thing, like, that's no guarantee to turn yourself into a cup contender. You need to add if you want to be a cup contender with this current team.
Right. Aren't you still kind of in the same spot? Like, maybe you're a little more well-rounded because Tkachuk has a little more of that edge while still giving you offensive output. But now it's, instead of what do you have around David Pasternak, what do you have around Brady Tkachuk? And could you argue that Tkachuk is maybe a better starting point? I guess there's a case to be made there, certainly. Sure. But it's not.
He'd be the captain, like there would be benefits to it, obviously.
But it's not. All right, we got Brady Tkachuk playing the parade.
Let's go for it. Yeah,
right. Here we go. Cup favorites. Like, it's not like the NBA where you get one player and it changes the entire DNA of your organization. It's
right.
Well, who's on his line? Like, who's going to blue line behind him? Like, you still have a ton of the questions that you have right now.
And Ty makes this point all the time about the Panthers trading Jonathan Huberdeau, and like that was a real hockey trade shakeup to bring in Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just all Matthew Tkachuk when he got there. They dropped him into Alexander Barkov, who was the second overall pick in the draft.
Right.
Still their best all-around player, their captain. He's one of the best all-around players in the league. They got Sam Reinhart from Buffalo, who realized his potential as a goal scorer. Carter Verhaeghe's a hit for them. And they have Aaron Ekblad on the back end. They got Seth Jones midseason. Yeah. They got Marchand. They had plenty to put around Matthew Tkachuk. They didn't just get Matthew Tkachuk and that was it. Instant cup contender. Like there's levels to this. Depth matters in the NHL, arguably more than any other pro sport when it comes to what wins.
And I think you could argue depth is what has killed them the last few years. Because I remember it's going back to the end of the Marchand Bergeron era. It was, okay, the top line, maybe even the top two lines, draft the series. Yeah, they're comparable with whoever they're playing. But then it was the third line the other team had was so much better. And the fourth line the other team had was so much better. Maybe the Bruins' top D pairing was comparable or a little bit better, a little bit. But then the other team, like the second or third pairings were so much better, right? And that's what's they have. And now they've turned into like an entire team of, they have Pasternak. And then it's an entire team of like, these are all like really good second, third line players. So your fourth line guys are maybe punching above their weight a little bit. But, your second line guys are not quite where you want to be. And that's just not, it's like the Patriots wide receivers or the Red Sox starting pitchers for years, right? Oh, we got 5 aces. Or we don't really have a number one wide receiver. Any of these guys can be the number one wide receiver. You do kind of want to have the hierarchy. You do, yeah, you do kind of want to have that. I feel like the Bruins have been missing that at times.
You want the hierarchy. They got to figure that out. But to me, it still comes back to talent. Like, look, Barth, if they had an elite center who was playing next to Pasternak and they were lighting it up game after game, they had chemistry and all that, and they had a legitimate top pairing left shot defenseman that they could put next to Charlie McAvoy, and he's basically a much better version of Jonathan Aspero, who had a solid regular season, but I think water found its level with him in the playoffs a little bit. I think I'm happy keeping him around, but if they could package him in a trade and Mason Lowry, make an upgrade there on the left side, get a legitimate minutes-eating, defensive, stay-at-home guy that can sort of free McAvoy up and really free McAvoy up to do what he wants to do offensively and pushing the pace with the puck. I think if they had those two things, I feel like we wouldn't be talking so much about the locker room or Pasternak's turnovers or Charlie McAvoy's decisions or the crowd. If they had the talent, if they had that top-end talent, it'd be a much different conversation, and maybe they are actually getting out of the second round. That's what I think it comes down to.
Do you think either of those guys are available this offseason? That center or that defenseman? Like, realistically.
Yeah, can they get Leon Draisaitl?
I mean, right, you can go off or whatever the hell you want.
Well, one guy that's realistic is Robert Thomas, who's in St. Louis.
Right, we're talking about him during the trade deadline, right?
Yes. Yeah. If you want to win a Stanley Cup, every Stanley Cup champion has a Robert Thomas on their team. High-end, two-way guy, plays a 200-foot game. He could be your number one center if he's got, elite line mates next to him. It's not necessarily going to be that guy that, the franchise-altering player, like maybe, better than the sum of its parts or whatever the phrase you want to use. But if they get him, and he could be your number one center, and he's playing with Pasternak, he's scoring a point per game and playing that reliable two-way game. He's basically giving you what you wanted to get, what you were hoping to get out of Elias Lindholm, who's a complete bust at this point. That's a whole other issue that we can get into if you want. But yeah, the Pasternak needs a center. And I think this is something that I think we can all agree on, whether you like Pasternak or not, whether you want to talk about the good parts of his game or the bad parts of his game. An offensive-minded right wing who makes a lot of turnovers for whatever reason and doesn't play that full 200-foot game like you would expect from like a franchise center. That guy can't necessarily be your identity. He could be your best scorer. Like, it's going to be hard to get a better scorer than Pasternak on your team. But he needs that center. Like, he can't get by with what he's had. Right. Pavel Zacha, Fraser Minton. Like, he needs a legitimate guy to put next to him. That should be their number one target this offseason. I know it's easier said than done, but they got to look into it.
617-779-0985 if you want to talk Bruins. Why is the NBA doing the lottery at 3:30 on a Sunday? All right, we're going to take a quick break. I want to come back and react to this.
I'm speechless.
I didn't know this was. I thought this was tonight. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, do the NBA lottery, then get back to the Bruins because we've had some great lottery reactions on this station. I would be remiss if we were not on the air for it. So quick break right back here. Barth, Dolloff, Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fans just like you. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Working live right here. Can you believe that?
That is a sham. Rigged. Sniff, Joe. Give us the sniffer. That is awful. That is such a. I'm out. That's such a rigging. I can't. That is That's a sham. That's absolute sham.
So Toronto
will get the first
number
overall
one pick.
Yep. They make a terrible GM hiring along with this idiot, and then their star player today says, "Oh, I kind of want to leave," and now they get the first overall pick. You cannot convince me that draft lotteries are not rigged. How do we know that's live? Explain to me how that's live. How does anybody in this room right now know that going on right now is live like they claim it is? It's not live. It was recorded earlier. This is a sham. The NHL draft lottery has always been rigged. Don't let anybody tell you it's not rigged. Rigged. We need to protect the Maple Leafs. We need to get them back up and running. The Bruins were once again porked with a capital P.
You're so mad you've lost your hat.
Yeah. I don't care that people can see me balding.
That was good stuff. Earlier this week from Kevin Jory and Joe Missouri, the porking of the ping pong balls for the Bruins. We have two teams that have been porked in the NBA. The NBA draft lottery going on right now. This is a big one. It's a good draft. There's a local tie here. The Celtics are not in the lottery this year, but A.J. DeBanza from Brockton, supposed to be the number one overall pick, and two teams have been porked out of potentially getting DeBanza. The Brooklyn Nets had the third best odds. So we're in between. They announced picks 15 through 5, and then they do the top 4 after the break. So the Nets originally had the odds, the third best odds. They had the third worst record. They were supposed to have the third shot at the pick. The Nets ended up 6. It was Utah that jumped them. And then the Pacers pick goes to the Clippers if it falls between 5 and 9. It was supposed to fall 2. They only won 19 games this year. Instead, that pick goes to the Clippers at 5. The Pacers with a major porking. And it was the Bulls that jumped up. Who's the other one that jumped up, Dolloff?
Sighs of relief that the Thunder didn't jump up.
The Thunder didn't. So the two conspiracy theories I heard were that the Warriors were going to jump up, so Steve Kerr wouldn't retire. They did not. They're still slotted in their previous spot, which is, I think, 11. And then the Heat at 14, the theory was they were going to get a pick as compensation for having to go through all the Terry Rozier stuff. They did not jump up. So right now it is for DeBanza. And look, I always root for the local guys. Big Cooper Flag fan. DeBanza will be fun to watch. This kid, Miller, whatever his name is, the basketball player. It's like a two-way star. Yeah. Be rooting for him wherever he goes. Cam Schlittler's kind of the lone exception. That guy's annoying. Go enjoy New York.
F him. Where
do you want to see DeBanza go? So he's been Indiana's been porked out of him. Brooklyn's been porked out of him. We still have Washington. They were the odds-on favorite to get the number one pick, although the top 3 have equal odds. Which, by the way, the fact that nobody has put 2 and 2 together, that only one league doesn't have a lottery, and only one league doesn't have a tanking problem. They're keeping it, how do we do the lottery to fix tanking? You get rid of it. It shouldn't be that hard. You get rid of it, but some team might have tanked its way to A.J. DeBanza. We got the Wizards, we got the Nets, we got the Bulls.
Chicago, Memphis, Washington.
Memphis was the other one that jumped up. Thank you, Memphis.
The Bulls are the easy choice here. And the Bulls, if the Bulls win the lottery, Barth, rigged. So the Bulls, it's been way too long that the Bulls have been a viable NBA team.
DeBanza would look good in that jersey.
They need the Bulls and those wonderful jerseys and that iconic logo to be back in the spotlight. It's been way too long.
They have
sucked for so long. It's about time that they have something bounce their way. As soon as I saw that they jumped up into the top 4, I was like, oh, they won. Here it comes.
And they jumped up from 9. The Jazz jumped up from 5. So it would be a big jump. Here we go. Let's see. I would go the Bulls or Utah. Oh, the Bulls are going to be 4.
Bulls 4. Okay.
The Bulls are 4. So they jumped from 9 to 4. So not totally rigged. But here's the thing. Where's DeBanza playing in college? BYU. Utah jumped up. The Grizzlies go 3. Is this going to be rigged for Danny Ainge?
We need the X-Files music, George.
No. They're 2. The Wizards.
The Wizards?
1-1. John Wall at the podium. That might not be. They were the worst team and they got it. How is that rigged? They won 17 games. I think that's fair. Now, the question is...
What would we need to find a conspiracy theory for the Wizards?
Well, the conspiracy theory is not going to be the lottery. The conspiracy theory is going to be does the league, because there's a couple other good players in this draft, Aaron Peterson from Kansas, Cameron Boozer from Duke, Caleb Wilson from North Carolina. I think Debance's like the clear one.
Yeah.
But is there pressure on the Wizards to take somebody else so Debance stays in Utah?
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Right. That's going to be. Now, the league could have just put in a frozen envelope and made sure that happened, but maybe that's too obvious.
And Danny Ainge is known to make bold decisions at the draft. If you remember, the 2018 draft, Jason Tatum wasn't the consensus number one pick.
Well, he moved back.
They moved back. He claims he would have taken Tatum first overall.
Fleeced Philly.
Does Danny Ainge pull a reverse Tatum draft and move up from 2 to 1?
See, that's what I was getting at. That's what I was driving at. Where he claims he was set on Tatum. So once they got the first pick, he's like, all right, I'm going to move down to 3 because I know that Markelle Fultz is the top prospect, followed by Lonzo Ball and his psycho dad are the top 2 prospects. We like Tatum. He was obviously right. So whatever Danny Ainge does here, I kind of trust him. I think he has a good eye for the top end talent. So if he trades up to number 1, that means Debance is the real deal, I think. Because I trust Danny in that spot.
I think Debance can play. A little part of me when Tatum got hurt was like, oh, sick, maybe Debance in Boston. That would be fun. But then like Jaylen Brown and Derek White were too good. They were never going to be a lottery team. Can you imagine, though, if the Celtics won like, what was the last lottery spot? 44 and 38. If the Celtics won like 40-something games, lost in the play-in, and then moved up from like 13, 14, 15 to 1 to get the local kid. Then it becomes, then do we have an interleague conspiracy where, all right, I don't even know who would orchestrate this, ESPN, I guess? Like, we got to screw the Bruins in hockey, but we'll make up for it and give the Celtics AJ Debance. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, where does TD Garden tie into all this? Where do the black seats tie into all this?
I don't like the black seats might be the reason the Bruins got porked. I will blame the black seats on that. I don't like them. I'm not a fan.
Look at all those crap markets, crap organizations.
Look at all those crap logos. When did the NBA logos start to suck? I saw something that I guess they have a thing now, like a style guide, where every logo has to be a circle and every logo has to include a basketball. And some teams are obviously grandfathered out of it. But look at all the recent logos in the NBA. They all look the same. Like the Grizzlies logo's up there right now. Good logo. Not as good as the throwback, but good. Bulls. Great logo. Classic. Yeah, that Clippers one? No, that's not a good logo. I guess the Nets one's been there. I'll give them, like, they were original with it.
Well, if you want to talk about conspiracy theories, Barth, we can get into the end of individuality if you want, and the corporatization of everything.
The minimalism has taken its impact on sports for sure. And the logos, I don't mind minimalist jerseys as much. The minimalist logos, the minimalist word marks. You know what I miss? Remember the Patriots word mark where it was the Pat Patriot over the P?
Yeah.
Like the old, it was in cursive, and now they have that like block font one, which is fine. It's not bad. That old one was so good. The old Eagles word mark was so good, and they changed it. Now it's just block letters. The Jaguars had a good one. The Panthers had a really good one. Like, remember that 90s, like a 90s font? That was a great word mark. Got rid of it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of minimalism over like being too flashy or like, it gets to a point that it looks corny, right? But when every logo is the same, like every logo has a circle and every logo features this or that, like that's where it starts to get kind of boring. Like if you can differentiate yourself, you can still have an interesting logo and be minimalist.
Where do you stand? Because I kind of went on this tangent and then stopped. Where do you stand on draft lotteries, in or out?
Yeah, I think the NFL is the best way to do it. It just, you eliminate all the questions.
Yep.
There's the fewest assumptions, the fewest questions. There's no rigging. There's no accusations of rigging. You have the worst record, you get the first pick, right? And
it's, I think it kind of, I think it repels tanking more than the lottery does. Because if it's a lottery, especially with like multiple teams having equal odds, like, okay, well, maybe we're not the worst team, but like who? Oh, the Wizards got it. That was a bad example. But the Maple Leafs, right? Like, even if we're not the worst team, we can be non-competitive and unwatchable. But even if we're not the most uncompetitive and unwatchable, we still have a shot at the pick. Whereas you have to be really committed to it in the NFL because what do you mean we blew up our whole roster and we're picking 5th? Like,
Right.
you got to really, if you have 1 or 2 teams a year that are tanking, that's fine.
And
that's going to happen. You can't have 6.
And one game in the NFL is equivalent to 3 or 4 games in the NBA. So you have to really commit to it in the NBA, right? And there's all the issues with load management and things like that. Like, that's long been an issue. But yeah, like, I think if people want to make the argument, well, if you have the worst record against the worst pick, that'll facilitate tanking. Well, you're getting tanking anyway.
Right.
I feel like you just
clearly it's not working.
Take the simplest approach and just eliminate as many assumptions as possible. Worst record, first pick. There you go.
I don't know what DeBance's resting face is. He did not seem super thrilled about Washington. Maybe because he thought he'd get to stay in Utah. I don't know if that's specifically about the Wizards. Nobody likes moving. But, as of right now, I would say probably a Washington Wizard. AJ DeBance. So it'll be... Here's another stupid thing with the NBA. Is that in the Celtics division? Why does the NBA still have divisions? I know it's for scheduling, but...
Yeah, it's completely pointless.
If they're going to expand, they got to go to 4 teams per division, 4 divisions per league. Go to the old NFL format. 6 playoff teams each side. First round bye for the top 2.
I've had an even crazier theory, Barth.
Okay. Get rid of divisions?
Get rid of the conferences. Just have every team ranked together. Then you get rid of the East versus West disparity that I think always exists.
So you have 82 teams over... Or no, you'd have to play 81... Oh, no, you'd play 82 games against 29 teams. So you'd play most teams 3 times, a handful of teams 2 times over the course of the season. It would be your schedule.
The schedule, figure it out. But I'm talking about in terms of playoff seeding. You just do 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15.
So not get rid of it for determining the playoffs and for scheduling, but okay, now here we go. It's 1 through 16.
Right.
Would eliminate some late night playoff game. Or could imagine if you had all West Coast teams as the top 8 seeds though, and now it's you're sitting around all day and then 10 p.m. hits and 7 playoff games start between the NBA and NHL.
Schedule, figure it out. I think you can put some 3 o'clock games on the West Coast or something like that.
DeBanza not in the Celtics division, by the way. Celtics, Knicks, Raptors, Sixers, Nets is the Atlantic.
Wizards in the Southeast.
Wizards, correct, with the Heat, Hornets, Magic, and Hawks.
When I think Washington, D.C., I think the South. Personally.
Really?
No, I'm joking. I'm being sarcastic.
Well, I remember when I was in college, I applied to the University of Missouri, and all my friends were like, why do you want to go to school in the South? Missouri's not the South. It's the Midwest. Missouri is squarely the Midwest.
Oh, yeah.
They're
literally
in the
center
SEC.
of the country.
They're in the SEC, but the conferences are broken. We have Stanford in the Atlantic Coast Conference, so you can't go, it's an SEC school. That doesn't mean they're in the South anymore. It should, but it doesn't. Now now we're doing musings. Now we're just doing musings. I'm just complaining about stuff. Let's get back to the Bruins. I want to talk about David Pastrnak because he might be making his push for the captaincy. You want to call in on that? We can do lottery stuff as well, NBA divisions, the college conferences. 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on the Sports Hub.
That's a sham. That's absolute sham.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Celtics, the Patriots, the Sox, the Revs, and you. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
When you're talking about two players that are currently captains and a big part of our leadership group, that you're not in a position you're thinking you're choosing between somebody. They're great people. They're great teammates. They're great Boston Bruins. So for us, we look at the big picture and saying, where is everybody in their own personal development, their own family dynamic, and who can impact us, the most without impacting themselves, and how they go about their daily life. Leadership is a collective process, and I think we proved this year that those guys took ownership of it. We grew, they grew, and now you're going to eventually get to the point where you feel comfortable that we are going to have another captain here.
Don Sweeney on the captaincy of the Bruins. It's Alex Barth, Matt Dolloff, taking up until 5 o'clock on the Sports Hub. You want to join us? 617-779-0985. Bruins on the table, Celtics on the table. We've talked a little Red Sox. We'll throw some Patriots stuff in later, but if you want to call on that, maybe we'll get to it a little quicker. Before we get to the eventual captaincy, how'd you feel about this year in the Bruins having a season without a captain, Dolloff?
I mean, how do I feel about them not having a captain? Just
like how do you feel that went? What would compared to maybe what you thought going in? Is this something they should do long term?
No, I think you should have a captain. It shouldn't be a long-term thing to have 3 assisting alternate captains.
I used to do that in my NHL franchise.
I think from the start, it just spoke to the reality that they don't have an obvious choice. Like David Pastrnak, Charlie McAvoy, they should be the obvious choices, but they're not. And I know that David Pastrnak has shown signs that he should be the captain.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's necessarily the perfect guy that you want in that kind of role, and I'm not sure they have that guy right now, which is tough.
Why is he not that guy?
Because I think you need your captain to be a guy that is very steady, reliable in all areas of the ice. And Pastrnak, I know his mistakes can maybe get overblown, or people just kind of ignore the fact that he scores 100 points, kind of makes up for some of the mistakes, but you can't have him making the kind of mistakes he does and then be that guy that's holding everybody else in the locker room accountable for mistakes. I think there's sort of a cognitive dissonance there. I think that's why Zdeno Chara was part of why he was so effective as a captain. When did Zdeno Chara ever screw up?
No, he didn't.
He never straight up screwed up. Even late in his career, he was very steady and reliable, and he did all the intangible things you want in a captain off the ice. And so, I think Pastrnak is probably the best choice by default right now. And if they want to make him the captain, I'd be fine with it. I just don't know that long-term he's really the answer for that kind of role. I think they, at the very least, need to bring in guys that could be more of the voice and the presence that kind of Chara was as the captain.
So a lot of people may be re-looking at this because we got this week, the latest Behind the B, which came out after the loss in the playoffs. And they end up losing. But this moment from David Pastrnak, kind of a different side than we've seen from him publicly. George.
Embarrassing! We talked about it! It's a afternoon game! Gotta be ready! No, we show up! We lose every battle! Boom! 3-0! 2 mistakes! We get out battle! Outskate everything! Guys playing without MCL! And this is how we show up! Embarrassing, boys! Take it up! Damn it!
And that's after they're trailing 4-0 after the first period, right? So game's over, but he's still fired up like that. Did that change your opinion at all on it or no? Or was that just eye-opening to you on him?
It was a little eye-opening. I didn't know that he had that in him to reach that gear in terms of how he's yelling and screaming at everybody. His voice is cracking. You can tell he's emotional about the whole thing. And Pastrnak I think, showed up more than probably anybody else on the team other than Swayman, out of all the skaters anyway. He showed up and gave a representative effort, even in the bad game. But definitely Game 6, where it's they really had to respond to that game in terms of how they played on their home ice. But yeah, no, it's great that he stepped up and did that in that moment. That was a time where the guys did need to be laid into like that, and so your captain has to be the guy that sort of does that sometimes. I just don't know that it tells the whole story. How is his communication on a day-to-day basis? And
right.
How does he communicate with the team? Is he always freaking out? Is he never freaking out? And then all of a sudden he freaks out all in this one moment?
Well, that was my thing.
You're
down 4-0 in an elimination game. A great moment. Where was that before the game? And I don't know if he did it or not. Like, that's one little clip. How about not letting it get to that point?
Yeah.
Where the game's already over, right? So it was interesting. It was illuminating to me. I don't know if that one clip alone makes him a captain, though.
No, I mean, hopefully that's not how they decide. Like, they go through the B-roll behind the B, and it's like, oh, I didn't know about that.
Behind the B is just like their sneaky way of choosing a captain. You said before, like maybe bringing in somebody else that has that leadership quotient. When they signed Char as a free agent, they made him the captain right away, right? He didn't.
I think it was part of the deal, basically.
That's kind of rare, isn't it?
Oh, it's very rare.
Do you think they would do? And now it's not like you're bringing somebody in, the Marchand, Bergeron, Chara core, this well-established thing. There's some of a core here, but it's a little more of a team in transition. Do you think they would go outside the org? Because you mentioned before they needed left shot defenseman, like solid 200-foot left shot defenseman. They need an established center that can play with Pastrnak and be that distributor. Again, these guys are hard to find, but those are also usually the prototypes of a team captain.
Yeah.
So do you think that that's something they would consider? They go through a year that, they sneak into the playoffs, they won and done. Maybe nobody proved it this year. Maybe nobody proved the captainship of those three assistants. Do you think there's a chance that they would take somebody from the outside and make him the captain?
I would say there's more than zero chance of that because they didn't name a captain. It feels like it's still, open.
Were you expecting them to do it during the year when they announced at the beginning it was going to be all A's?
No, I felt like they were going to give it the year.
Okay.
See how it went, see it all through, see the whole process, see the full picture, that whole thing. I wasn't expecting them to name a captain like halfway through the year. I think you're opening up a potential and a whole other can of worms if you name the captain, then it nosedives after
that's
that.
True.
You're opening yourself up to things you don't necessarily want to. But yeah, I think they at least need to look outside the organization for leadership, for guys that can have that solid, dependable locker room presence. Like, I don't know that McAvoy has the consistent temperament for that. And this clip from Pastrnak, it's like, well, I like that he spoke up the way he did when he needed to. I just don't know that he has sort of the temperament. Like, I think you need to be sort of even-keeled, and you need to, communicate a certain way to each of the individual players. You need to, build relationships with everybody. I'm just not sure that they are those guys, and it's not a knock on them. It's just kind of how it is. Like, I think they were hoping that McAvoy would ascend to that defenseman, leader, captain type of thing, but he just hasn't gotten there. So the comp I've used, Barth, is Ryan McDonough, who was on the Rangers, and the Rangers had a lot of success back when they were good and they were making deep playoff runs. McDonough was their captain. He wasn't necessarily their best player. I don't think he's ever been the best defenseman on his team, but he's reliable. He plays big minutes. He plays heavy minutes. He plays in all situations. He's good defensively, and he obviously did enough behind the scenes to earn that C. And so if they bring in that, I'm not saying go get Ryan McDonough because he's old now, but if they could get someone who fits that profile, you don't even necessarily need to name him the captain, but if you just have that presence on the ice and off the ice, I think it would go a long way. I'll give you a name, though, in free agency. Okay. Jacob Trouba is going to be a free agent. Now, he's a right-shot defenseman.
Yeah.
So he's not going to fit the Charlie McAvoy partner need, but been a captain before.
Yeah.
He won the Marc Messier Leadership Award one year, so he obviously did something right.
Right.
He was the captain of the Rangers.
Experienced players.
Experienced
seen a
player.
lot.
I don't know. He's not necessarily going to fill your talent speed issue, but on the back end, I think that's a little less of a concern. I think back end, you need to be sturdy, consistent, play big minutes, and let the skill take over up front. So Trouba's a guy I'd be okay with them signing. Obviously, you got to see what the money is, but I think at this point, they're in a position where they could sign guys to call it a 3 or 4 year deal, maybe 4 years. They don't necessarily need to go dipping into the free agent pool for a 7-year deal. Like, they could sign a guy for 4 years, and that sort of holds them over until hopefully this next wave of prospects can take over, and you can also fit them under the cap with a guy that's not signed up long term. Hopefully they've learned their lesson from Elias Lindholm, and they go a little shorter term on that.
JP, Mike, I see you guys on the phone. Celtics, Bruins, Lottery Talk. You want to join them, 617-779-0985. Right to your calls next on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports, 98.5 The matter what player, no matter what coach, no matter what game, it all happens here. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Get to the calls, and then I think we might need to do a little golf, Dolloff. I'm going to send you something here. But we're going to...
So you were just snickering about?
Yeah. We're going to get to the calls first. Let's go to JP and NP. Looks like he's got a couple things to talk about. What's up, man?
Vader and Dolloff. It sounds like a new sci-fi show. Guys, thanks for being on. Didn't get to call all weekend. One of my more random who the hell cares what JP's saying, but some quick thoughts.
Okay.
Moon landing, the Knicks getting Ewing, or Toronto getting the first pick. 2 out of the 3 are fake, or maybe 3 out of the 3. Even Scott Foster thinks there's something wrong with that Toronto all of a sudden getting up to number 1. Of course, the league did something. We don't even know if they had a draft. Now, second question, was that Pasternak or Joe Murray doing amusing? Because that could have been either one. I love the passion. The
that was
real
great,
sports take, it should be McAvoy. We know it. Your starting star defenseman, especially after he laid out the guy last year and then got hurt, showed some stones. The thing is, it's not going to be him. It's probably going to be Pasternak because he's the star, the leader. But it should be McAvoy. There is no reason. I don't know why it's not. But if that's your top defenseman, that to me should be the rock of the team. But I don't think it is. I do like the move for Jacob Trouba, though. I would love a veteran like that. I think you're right on point with that, guys.
Awesome. Thanks for the call, Dolph. Who should be the Bruins captain and who will be the Bruins captain this upcoming season?
Great questions, Barth. I think it should be Pasternak, and I think it will be Pasternak.
Okay.
I think Pasternak, for all the holes he could poke in his game, his personality, all that, I think he checks more boxes than McAvoy in terms of holding himself accountable, frankly. Like, he's always there to face the media after a game. McAvoy doesn't quite have the same track record of doing that. I think McAvoy tends to kind of run a little hot and cold. So I just don't think he has necessarily the consistent, even keel like Chara had or Patrice Bergeron even as captain. Like, you got to have some level of intensity, but you got to be a consistent communicator. I'm not sure Pasternak necessarily has it, but in terms of being accountable,
he's closer.
Being accountable, being the best player, like, I just think he checks enough boxes for what this roster has. Ideally, like JP said, like, ideally it was McAvoy. I think they were hoping it would be McAvoy. Cam Neely, played with Ray Bourque. And, Chara, like, that's turned into something of a tradition where, like, they want that defenseman, number 1 defenseman, captain player. And McAvoy feels like he's come up a little short of that. But what do you want to do? Would you rather they forced that, or would you rather they brought someone in who actually could fill the role? I'm taking option B.
I'd rather be the right guy.
Yeah.
I'd absolutely rather be the right guy. Why can't, and I know they can't, and I'm not even saying Swayman should be, why can't goalies be the captain? Like, what's the rule behind that?
He can't talk to the refs.
Why not?
Well, I don't know why, but that's why.
Can't skate up there?
I was about to suggest that, too, before I Googled that and said that they outlawed
I know they
that.
can't, because I remember, wasn't Luongo, like, unofficially the captain in 2011 for the Canucks, and they had, it was one of the Sid Deans was, like, designated as, like, okay, well, Luongo's the captain, but this guy's the designated game captain, or whatever the hell that was. So who was the Bruins' designated game captain this year? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know.
Or did they just rotate?
Probably just rotated.
They just rotated? I think it's kind of stupid, the goalie. He skate, and I guess in games he doesn't play. I mean, it's because the goalie doesn't play every game. But, like, captains can get injured. Skaters can get injured and miss games. I wonder how many goalies would be the captain if they were allowed to be across the NHL.
I don't think the goalies generally don't have that kind of personality.
That's true. They're kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's not the guy you want holding everybody accountable. That's
right.
fair.
I look back like Patrick Waugh might have made a good captain back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the greatest goalies ever, Brodeur, but they're all kind of kooks.
Yeah,
like,
no,
they're not
that's
kind
fair.
of guys you want to be like the identity of your team and everybody feeding off that guy's energy. I'm not sure you want that.
That's perfectly fair. Let's go to Mike and Woburn. Mike.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Hey.
Good.
Draft's 100% rigged. I mean, the NBA, it's obvious. The NBA hired Ernst & Young in 1985, and in 1985, Patrick Ewing went to New York, and it's been rigged ever since. I think the most low-key one that's overlooked is when the league owned the Hornets, they won the draft that year. The league owned the team. They were looking to sell the team. What would boost that team's value more than a generational superstar like Anthony Davis? Surprise, the 1 year Cleveland didn't win the draft when LeBron was in Miami. The team they own wins it. It's all a sham. The Bruins, I feel like they need to make a decision on if they want to move. They need to do one of two things. They have too many centers that are redundant right now. Lindholm is the guy that you would want to get rid of if you could. And I think to do that, you'd have to, it's going to have to be one of those 1-for-1 hockey deals where you're taking a bad contract on. A guy that I think that they could do it for because Edmonton is desperate to get rid of him. Would you do Lindholm for Darnell Nurse? It's not even in pricing, but Nurse is a left-hand shot defenseman. He could be a guy that you pair with McAvoy, give a change of scenery to. And if Edmonton doesn't want to eat any of his deal, maybe you could get them to take Korpisalo as well as part of it. If you really want to get the money to try to match, they need a goalie. Korpisalo is better than anything they have. You would have to be one of those deals, or you can't afford to pay Pavel Zacha Alex Tuck money in the offseason next year. You can't afford to do it. He's not that good. I like Zacha. Useful player. Great value at what he's making right now. If you're paying him $9, $10, $11 million, you're overpaying for a guy that doesn't produce in the playoffs. You have to move him to get pieces to build around. You have to do one of those two things. It's basically you have two centermen that you can sort of pivot which way the organization goes on, aside from a complete strip-it-down rebuild, which I don't think they want to do because it didn't sound like the CFO wants to do that, and they've never wanted to do that. So it seems to me like you have to do one of two things in order to sort of change the chemistry around the center of the team. And the third one might be the other Lindholm. You've got a Lindholm problem. It's $15 million worth of Swedish underperforming that is going on that's holding this team back.
The too many Lindhigh, would that be what that is? Thanks for the call. Darnell Nurse. I like Darnell Nurse. Darnell Nurse can play. Is he a fit for what they need?
I mean, righty shot D, right?
No, he's left shot.
No, but wouldn't you want righty shot D, right? Right, Dolloff?
Well, to pair with McAvoy, you need the left shot. I personally go left shot for like a true pairing partner for Charlie McAvoy. Charlie McAvoy is the new David Krejci. You know, they couldn't find
nobody to
they
pair
couldn't
with.
Find a line that works for David Krejci for years. It's turning
it was
into the
the
same
left
thing
winger specifically, right? They couldn't get anybody to play on his left.
Yeah, but I think Jonathan Aspro was like the beta trial version of like what actually works with McAvoy. But you need a guy who's just more skilled. Like you get him into the playoffs and he's playing heavy minutes against top level competition, he gets exposed. You need a better version of Jonathan Aspro to pair with Charlie McAvoy.
So that's not Darnell Nurse, right?
No, Darnell Nurse I would take. His minutes have declined the last couple of years. He's 30, so I haven't looked at the contract. I guess it's a bad contract too, like Lindholm. That was the idea there. Ty Anderson keeps bringing up trading Lindholm back to Vancouver if they would take him for Elias Pettersson, who was when he first came into the league looked like he was going to be like an elite offensive scoring center. He's tailed off in recent years, and he makes more than Lindholm. He makes like $10 million. So you're taking money on, but that's another like bad contract for bad contract type of deal. I'm honestly just kind of accepting that they just got to work around Elias Lindholm at this point. I would do both if I could, trading Lindholm and trading Pavel Zacha. I completely agree with Mike on Zacha that he's going into the last year of his deal, and you look at the market and you look at like what guys like him are getting paid. You're looking at $8 million a year on an extension for Pavel Zacha. $8 million.
Wow. So Nurse, the cap hit is 9.25. That's for the next 4 years. That runs through his age 34 season. The cash is not as bad because it's a front-loaded contract. So he's due $8 million this year. That goes down to 7.2 for the next 3. He does have a full no movement clause for the next 2 years, and then it becomes a 10-team no trade for the 2 after that.
See, that's palatable, a 4-year deal, because you're talking about like
4 years, 9.3 per. 2 years of a no movement, and then it becomes a 10-team no trade.
You start drafting defensemen, and then what? By the time Nurse is up, you got those guys, ideally, if everything goes according to plan, coming into the system. And so that would make sense to me.
He does also have to want to come here. That's also part of it.
Right. Just assuming all that. Yeah. But like the center position is where I think they got to try their best to sort of clear the decks. They got to sort of reset, start over. Pavel Zacha, maybe he'd have some value this offseason for a team that really wants a two-way center, and they'll give you, a good package of picks and prospects, or maybe they would package Zacha with picks and prospects to make an upgrade at that spot. And that's how you get David Pasternak's new number one center. Maybe that's something they could look into. But yeah, I think with Fraser Minton in the system, James Hagan's ideally he's coming up and he's playing center sooner rather than later. Ideally, those guys can be your top two centers of the future. Next year might be a little early for that, but they got to get rid of Lindholm the best way they can. They might have to just attach a high draft pick to him like they did with David Backes a few years ago.
Yeah.
So that might be that kind of situation. I'm just accepting that they're just going to have to work around that Lindholm contract. I'm looking at Zacha as the spot where they can either clear the decks for the guys coming in or make an upgrade there.
All right, I see more of you guys waiting on the phones with some trade talks, both Bruins and Celtics. We do have to hit the headlines with Dolloff real quick, then come back, get to your calls. 1 hour to go. You want to join in, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on the Sports Hub.
From the Town Fair Tire Studio, the game is on the Sports Hub.
Goes to the backhand and score. Two-hand slam.
Boston's home for sports. WBCFM 98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Red Sox down 4-1 to the Rays heading into the ninth inning. Wilson Contreras left the game early with a hand injury after getting hit by a pitch. NBA playoffs have started today. Knicks and 76ers have tipped off. Knicks up big in the first quarter. That's looking like a potential 4-game sweep for the Knicks today. By the way, the NBA had their draft lottery earlier today. The Washington Wizards won the draft lottery. They will have the first overall pick, projected to take hometown hero A.J. DeBonsa from Brockton. So we'll see how that goes. Stanley Cup playoffs. Sabres-Canadiens play Game 3 tonight at 7. That series is tied 1-1. Golden Knights and Ducks Game 4 tonight at 9:30. Vegas leads that series 2-1. And the Truist Championship is in the final round. We currently have a three-way tie for first place. Sungjae Im, Christopher Rayton, and Nikolai Hogard. I think that's how you pronounce that guy's name. Three-way tie. Interesting finish there coming up at the Truist Championship. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by Awaken 180. Reach your health and weight goals with Reclaim by Awaken 180. A 10-week medication-free plan with weekly results and a finish line. Awaken180weightloss.com. I'm Matt Dahl for Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Thanks for listening to Sports Hub headlines.
Boston Talk Sports.
Trade Drake May. We all know what, but we won't say what. Yeah, worst take on these airwaves in the last 24 hours.
We may not take a call today.
The Sports Hub.
Boston sports, yeah, we got that covered. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Back here on 98.5. Last hour, Alex Barth, Matt Dolloff. You want to join in, 617-779-0985. We've talked Celtics. We've talked Bruins. We've talked Red Sox. We'll get to a little Patriots. We did have a call drop off, Dolph, and the tagline just said, trade David Pastrnak. Should that be considered, or is he untouchable?
I don't think anybody should be untouchable at this point. He's coming up on age 30.
Short of here's Connor McDavid.
Right, like someone knocks your socks off with an offer. You have to at least consider it, right? You can't. I think anything should be on the table. I'm open to anything.
Should they be calling teams about him? Should they be calling teams and figuring out what they could get?
No, they should be holding firm on that. Make the other team make the aggressive offer for a guy like that, I would say.
Let's go to Jake in Boston with a Jaylen Brown trade. Jake, what's up?
So I think what really happened today at the NBA draft lottery is that the Jaylen Brown to Washington scenario for Anthony Davis started to unfold. Certainly more attractive at this point than Jaylen to Milwaukee. Trade that works for both teams. Anthony Davis obviously has been rumored to come here several times over the last couple of years. That is a Jason Tatum guy. You need a rim protector. You would shoot far fewer threes. He only averages about half a three a game. And you'd have an inside game. Whereas in D.C., Jaylen slots nicely into a Wizards lineup with a young A.J. DeBansa and Trae Young with the ability to make the playoffs now and be a number one. You'd obviously get picks back from Washington in return in a deal like that. It also expresses why you've got to trade not Jaylen Brown, but Jason Tatum, because you are not going to get a healthy young player for either Jaylen or Jason, which means you're getting a diminished asset and you need, more importantly, a puzzle piece in your system. You don't know what Tatum is next year. He just pulled himself out of a Game 7. And, yeah, he did pull himself out of that Game 7 with what was it, a knee or whatever it was.
Wait, hang on. So you're saying the Celtics should trade both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum?
No, I think you need to prioritize trading Jason Tatum. You don't know what he's going to be over the next 12 to 24 months. That Achilles injury is still very hard to come back from. And you're wagering your bet on a healthy Jaylen Brown over the next 5 years. If you were to trade for Anthony Davis or Giannis Antetokounmpo, you have two question marks from a health standpoint. Because, again, you don't know what Tatum is. And you don't know what those two guys are. But I can argue that Anthony Davis here and wagering that bet, it's going to shorten your window. You're going to shorten your window either way with whatever deal you make.
Sure.
You better make a deal that shortens your window and you're gambling on health for the next 3 to 5 years, because then you're completely blowing it apart.
Fair enough. I think it's unfair. Thanks for the call, Jake. I think it's unfair to not include Jaylen Brown in that conversation. Here's Jaylen Brown's games played over his career. 78, 70, 74. That's his first 3 years in the league. Then you get a couple of COVID-shortened years in there, so I guess I'll skip those. 66, 67, 70, 63, 71. This is a guy that misses at least 10 games a year. We know he kind of has a nagging knee issue that comes and goes over time. It's maybe not as Anthony Davis on another level. I mean, Anthony Davis is a real, legitimate, significant repeated injuries. His games played since the pandemic, 40, 56, 76. I got to do some math here real quick. 51 between the Lakers and Dallas, and then 20 last year. Remember, he missed a good chunk last year. He had like an eye injury. It was something weird. So, yeah, no, if they trade Jaylen Brown for Giannis, I'll agree with that. If they trade Jaylen Brown for Giannis and Anthony Davis, you shorten your window. I still think the best option is not trading Jaylen Brown. If they were to trade Jaylen Brown to the Wizards, I don't love Anthony Davis as the best part of the return. I'd be asking for that number 1 pick. And maybe it becomes Jaylen Brown and then some. Maybe it's Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard and you sending other picks back. I don't want Anthony Davis as a throw-in. I know he got traded for Luka straight up. That was a ripoff. If the Wizards call, the first thing I'm saying, especially with a local kid on the board, all right, Jaylen, and what else do you want? Because we want 1-1. That's the first thing. And maybe that's not realistic. Maybe they hang up on you. That's where that conversation starts for me. I don't care about Anthony Davis and his injuries.
Right, no, throw him in just to make the money work. And,
right, and they need a center. Right, they need a center. Sure, he fills that. You're just doing the Luka trade again.
Yeah, no, the Wizards need to give up more in that trade. Jaylen Brown is younger, in his prime. He just had his peak. And Anthony Davis is declining, and he gets hurt every year. Like, I'm not interested in Anthony Davis personally. I know he's had a great career, and he's a great two-way player. I'm all set with that at this point.
I mean, I'd take him.
Unless you're getting 1-1, like you said.
Right. Give me 1-1. Give me Debanza. Debanza and Anthony Davis for Jaylen Brown. I mean, I'd throw a lot of other players in there, frankly, if that's a trade. Now you're talking about a hockey trade.
Yeah.
As Falker likes to call it. And maybe there's too many moving pieces there. Maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself.
Well, no, the NBA facilitates those kinds of deals more than any other league because you got expiring contracts and matching the money and all that. So they do have the most fun trades. That I'll give the NBA that.
I would disagree. The NBA trades annoy me. The matching salary thing is a pain to follow.
Oh, that's a pain. But like once the news hits, the trades are
the news
trades
cycle is the greatest.
It's fire.
But when you have I'd say the pick swaps, I always lose track of the pick swaps, and then you can trade a pick swap, so a pick can be any one of 3 teams depending on where it falls in the lottery. Which again, the lottery's annoying.
What's your stance on bird rights, Barth?
I know about bird law.
Right. Let's go toe-to-toe on bird rights.
Let's go toe-to-toe on bird rights. Anthony Davis or Jaylen Brown does work in terms of the money.
Yeah, they're pretty close.
ESPN trade machine, this would make the Wizards better by 12 wins. And it would make the Celtics worse by 9 wins.
How's that work?
Celtics are a 9-win. Jaylen Brown won them 9 games and Anthony Davis doesn't, I guess. Something like that. I don't know what the exact, they use PER. Is AJ Debanza worth 9 wins? If the difference between Jaylen Brown, and it's another trade that we're going to talk about. If the difference between Jaylen Brown and Anthony Davis is 19 wins, how many wins is Debanza worth? It's not 19. Not as a rookie, not as an unknown. I like the kid, but not as an unknown. No, that conversation starts with 1-1. Maybe I'm being ridiculous, but I think Brad Stevens should be ridiculous in that setting.
Yeah, no, you're trading a guy that's probably going to be first team All-NBA. He was 4th in the league in scoring. He's going to get MVP votes. Like, that's, if you might look at Jaylen Brown and say, realistically, he's not that player. He just happened to be that guy this year because he was the lead dog. Tatum wasn't there and all that. But if you're Brad Stevens and you're looking at it from a business perspective and he's as an asset, that's your selling point for look, man, I'm giving you an MVP candidate. Like, you gotta pay up for this guy. We're not just gonna make the money work with throw-ins. Like, you gotta give me some legitimate capital here.
Yeah. Brown's in another tier than Davis. Would the Wizards do it? I don't know. I mean, you're giving up maybe the Celtics again, and I would throw in, okay, you give us 1-1 and we'll give you they don't even have their first this year, do they? I think they do. But like, we'll give you like 3 firsts. We'll throw in 3 firsts. Because you're not going to need those at that point. Yeah. Jason Tatum, AJ DeBanza, that's going to rule. Are you kidding me?
Well, they're talking about shortening the window. I'm honestly not too concerned about shortening the window. You're in the window now.
The window by a year or two to heighten the ceiling.
You're in the window now. Try to get one more while you have Tatum. And if you're going to keep Tatum and Brown, you gotta make a push to get one more with them, because I don't know how many years they have left at this point playing in like prime condition, peak of their game. I don't know how much longer they have. I think they got to go for it while the window's starting to tighten up on them a little bit.
Thank you, George. So take pick 27, which the Celtics have. Take a couple more future firsts. We can do those ridiculous pick swaps. That's where the conversation starts and ends for me. I do want to get into some Patriots stuff and some other stuff from the weekend. It was a good weekend. It's finally nice out a little bit. At least a couple days ago it was nice out. Got to play some golf. TV. We got a big TV event tonight we can get to. All that and more coming up here. It's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
In this town, sports happens 24/7. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub, Alex Barth, Matt Dolloff. Got another 40 minutes if you want to join us. 617-779-0985. Dolph, during the updates, you were giving us updates on the
Truist Championship.
The Truist Championship, right? Because you're done with no more Sports Hub headlines in the show. Can I get a quick update on this? Because I need to know, where is Sung Jae Im at this point in time?
There is now a 4-way tie for first place.
Is he
leader.
included in that?
He is in that group.
Wow.
With Ricky Fowler, who's -6 today.
Okay.
And Nikolai Hogard and Christopher Rayton.
So
I haven't heard of those guys, to be honest.
I ask about Sung Jae Im because this just came on my Twitter. I have to talk about it. This is one of the most bizarre shots I've ever seen a pro golfer hit. So this is on the 14th hole. So this probably wasn't that long ago. He's in a greenside bunker. I'll retweet this if people want to go find it. Real Alex Barth on social media. He's in a greenside bunker on the 15th hole. He's 2 shots off the lead at this point. Sculls it, which I can't talk crap. I hit this shot like 4 times when I played on Friday over at Weather Vane in Weymouth. Nice course.
You skull it and you had a hard grounder instead of popping it up in the air.
But what we don't have is a bleacher set up across the green from us. So nobody's coming to watch us play. Banks it off the bleacher, bounces back over the rough onto the green, and rolls all the way back into the same bunker. So he thought he was setting himself up for a birdie putt, and he just has to walk across the bunker. That is one of the do you have it? All right, yeah, I don't know how much they describe it, but let's hear it. What it sounded like.
Jay playing his
golf is a tough radio sport.
Spot that's been raked.
You can hear the O's. They all knew.
Well, it's off the fence. It's coming right back to him.
It's rolling back across the green. You can go find it.
He's going to get a chance to play that shot all over again.
That is bizarre.
Oh, my goodness.
Never seen that before, ever.
That ball traveled about 60 to 70 yards, but it finished only 6 feet from him.
My goodness.
Yeah, when you have Jim Nance like that, you know you're really screwed up. That's part of the reason I love golf, though, is like, don't get me wrong, those guys are so much better than I am. It's unbelievable. But that's the thing. They're the best in the world. They're so elite, and they will still, every once in a while, hit that shot, which is kind of amusing.
Yeah, it proves that it's a lot of it is mental, right? Like, because they have the talent to never, ever, ever take that shot.
But clearly he bounced back. So I didn't know when I asked you that. I was expecting to hear he was like 4 shots out. He's tied for the lead now?
My leaderboard looks like it's a little behind. This is, of course, PGAtour.com, the official leaderboard. Has him at through 12 holes. So I guess they're a little behind. I don't know.
Was this yesterday and I just missed this? Oh, this was yesterday.
Okay, that makes
I missed
sense.
this. Okay. So he is currently...
Well, now Ricky Fowler has taken sole
taking
possession
the
of the lead. What a comeback by him today.
That's
7 under today.
That's big for Kevin Majori. Kevin Majori's a big rookie guy.
Majori, by the way, I meant to say last break, he did kind of turn into a moon landing guy with the leaves winning the water. It was pre-recorded. They're on a sound stage.
So, yeah, no, I will say though, I got to talk to. I knew Majori was good at golf. I mean, everybody here kind of knows that. He's really good.
Oh yeah.
My buddies got me on. Do you use 18 birdies?
Yes. Yeah, my friends use it and they got me into it.
Do you like put your scores in and?
Not every time. If it fits my argument.
Well, so one of my friends will like track it live, and then I notice he like deletes the round at the end if it's not good.
Yeah, sometimes I'm doing so bad I just stop.
That's the thing. Score. I don't know if I want people to know how bad I am, but it is kind of fun. It's become a thing in my group chat where, because some of my buddies play like 4 or 5 times a week, and I'll see in the group chat somebody's like, "Hey, nice par on 3," and now you kind of get shamed if you don't comment on somebody's round while it's happening.
Yeah,
at least at some point, because you get a notification when they start.
Right.
So you got to at least, if you miss the start, you got to be like, hey, good shot there or whatever. So it's kind of addicting, though, because there's like stats you can follow in real time, like as your friends are playing.
I don't do much of that. We just kind of log the round.
You just log it?
Yeah.
I have 3 rounds in there right now, but I only have scores for 2 of them. Because the first time I did it, you can like create a group with your friends, so they just put me in one.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this will be cool. And then I was playing at Widow's Walk, which is not an easy course, and it was my first round of the year.
Doesn't sound easy.
I did not go like the first hole is brutal, and I was just like, I don't want to keep my score today. We were playing 18. I was like, this could get ridiculous.
On my best day, I'll shoot around 100. Like I'm not good. You know, so it's like I'm not trying to impress anybody logging the score.
I'm the same
I just
way.
like to see if I'm making progress, and I like to log the little things like how many putts and all that, see if I'm like making progress in that department. That's what I use the apps for.
I had too many putts the other day. I'm literally looking at mine right now. That's the first thing, like the stats it pulls. I had no 3 putts, but I did putt 16 times in 9 holes.
Oh, boy.
That's not what you're looking
No
for.
3 putts is good, though.
No 3 putts. They were small greens, so that would have been tough. But I had a couple. I did have a couple 1 putts that helped. Now, they were 1 putts because I was slowly making my way up, and I chipped it right there. But no, I should we just like go through and see? Because I can see majority's handicap. There's like the other cool thing about this is you can see there's like recommended people, and I don't know if it pulls it out of your contacts or what, but like I went to look, and there's all these Boston sports media people here, and I can see their handicaps.
Yeah, it must be the contacts. They're all connected.
I don't
They're
know
all
if-
selling each other's data.
I don't know if I have Evan Marinofsky's number, but I know his handicap. Mark Dan. There's some good golfers on the Patriots beat. I'll tell you that. I went through and looked. Patriots beat can play.
No,
Shout out us.
Those guys. There's a lot of guys that are good athletes, good shape. That whole thing.
Yeah.
Not a bunch of schlubs. The Patriots beat.
No, if you would have guessed which beat collectively was the best golfers in Boston.
Hockey. It might have to be the Patriots because of what we just said. They're like athletes.
We also I think we have the most time. Well, I guess hockey and it's not baseball because they're working during golf season. So that's tough. Hockey players are big golfers. So like I've seen like Beers play at the Sports Up tournament, right? He can play.
Yeah.
So he would help. Like hockey, there's a lot of carryover between hockey and golf. It'd probably be the Bruins versus the Patriots beats for golf. It might be a good.
Oh, I think known as a good
media
golfer.
like Ryder Cup.
You know what beat guy I think is known as a really good golfer is Chris Forsberg. I believe they talked about that.
I did know that.
I think they've been talking about that on Toucher and Hardy. He's like a legit
I
good
think
golfer.
he was on the Sports Hub Golf Club.
Yeah.
Too. Okay, so the Celtics have he's going to carry the Celtics.
Yeah, he's the captain.
Interesting. I didn't see him on 18 birdies though. So I don't know. I think he's good. I'm saying I trust him, but so maybe it is your contacts.
If you were to do like a Ryder
it's mostly
Cup,
Patriots people on here for me.
If you were to do like a Ryder Cup, like teams of 4,
right,
I'd put my money on the Patriots beat.
Okay. Yeah,
I get past Forsberg. I don't know how many golfers there are in the Celtics beat. Red Sox, forget.
I do know some of them golf because I've taught golf with like Bobby Kravitsky and Jack Simone, so I know those guys play.
If Maz counts,
but I play and I'm not good.
If you could count Maz for the Red Sox beat, that's a boost.
That's true. If the Red Sox get Maz, that helps them. That helps them out. So would the Patriots or the Bruins get Felger?
Well, Felger's admits that like the Bruins are the one team he considers himself like a fan of.
Okay, so we'll give Felger to the Bruins. Beat. They can have him. This would be a good tournament.
Yeah, Felger, Beersy. I think our former play-by-play guy was in the golf tournament too.
Yeah.
If you could work him in there, he's technically on the Bruins beat.
Get Ty out there as like the vibes guy, the caddy.
I've talked to Ty so many times on the sports.
I would love to golf with Ty.
You know, Ty, he's got these quirks where it's like he just finds a way to talk about how stupid and corny golf is.
He's like the perfect. He seems to have like the perfect personality for the guy wanting to golf because I think he wouldn't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
But he also wouldn't be like annoying and in the way. He'd be the perfect vibes guy.
He would go with the flow, yeah.
Right. He'd go with the flow. I would love to golf with Ty. I think that'd be great.
I think it would be great content. I think it would be a great time.
We got to get Ty out to the golf tournament. And we have those mics. We can mic him up. And we've done that with Zoe. We got to get Ty like mic'd up at the golf. Just have it. Who would the digital team be? Like the three of us and Jim.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Does Jake play?
I'm not sure.
Or Garvin?
Didn't you say Colin plays?
Colin was on 18 birdies. Yeah, we have Colin. Colin's part of digital. Those guys rotate days, so we'll just have them like rotate shots.
We could compete for not last, I think.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
That might need to be. We might need to talk to somebody about how do we make that happen.
This is a good. I like this idea. It's good content above all else.
It would be.
Everybody knows that's the most important thing in the world is good.
Yes,
content.
you got to have good content. We'll mic Ty up. We'll give him. I have a second set of clubs, so like he's set. Unless he's a lefty, he's set. We got that covered. Because that's what. Anytime I try to get my friends in golf, I don't have clubs. So when I bought, because I had like my starter set for like 5 or 6 years. I know nobody wants to hear about your golf game. But then, like, when I got nicer clubs, I kept my old ones. Because now when somebody's like, oh, yeah, no, I'd play, but I don't have clubs. Like, nope, not an excuse. Unless you're lefty, here's my old ones.
I legitimately think I need new clubs. Like, I know that people,
we all do.
People say that as, like, a convenient excuse when they're not playing well. I legitimately, like, my clubs are from, like, 1960.
No,
I
legitimately
need something new.
I bought my driver secondhand on the Cape for like $40 in 2015.
I need clubs.
That thing is well past its lifespan.
I need clubs that were manufactured after we landed on the moon. That's what I need.
You need
to
clubs
on.
like post the invention of like high
computers,
carbon plastic. Yeah. Somebody help Dolloff out. Somebody get Dolloff. Is it everything or just like a couple?
No, my driver's fine. My driver's
okay.
relatively new. But I used to have a putter that was made of copper beryllium. Literally illegal to make those. You literally can't make those anymore.
I was going to say, like, the one club I don't get spending big money on is the putter. Because how much is it like the driver, it can be engineered a certain way. The irons can be engineered a certain way.
Yeah, and then you get a $26 putter.
You just tap. I have a cheap blade putter. It's like, I don't like the ones that are big in the back. I like the flat, narrow one, right? I got the most basic. I don't even remember the brand. I've never heard of it before, but I went down to Golfer's Warehouse, and I was just like, I just want this shape, and I want the one I had before didn't have the line on the top. I like the line on the top to help line it up, and it's great. It's great. I tried my buddy's like $120 putter, noticed no difference. But if it's literally, I was going to say, putter is the one where you can just have whatever. I can't imagine a putter going poorly, but yours is made of a literal illegal substance.
Yes.
Well, so that changes the conversation.
Well, I lost it one time. It's gone. Someone probably swiped it because it's probably worth something. It's literally like an artifact. But yeah, no, I replaced that with like a $20 used putter from Played Again Sports. So I'll let you play with that one to let me know how it goes.
That's probably not that much different than mine.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go down to my car and figure out what the brand is and see if anybody's heard of it.
It feels like a piece of bamboo when I'm swinging that thing.
I don't feel the difference in the putters. I don't. Unless it's like really bad. Like obviously like a mini golf putter. But everything else, I need a new driver. Everything else, I think I'm in good shape. I've had my 3-wood for a while, but I really like it.
I need woods, period. Like I had a friend who's also a lefty. I'm a lefty. So if Ty's a lefty, you can have my club.
Oh, okay, there we go.
But I have a friend who's a lefty, and he got a new 3-wood. He gave me his 3-wood way too long. I can't swing down on the ball, Barth. I need a fresh set of woods on top of everything else.
Yeah, I could see that. I have a buddy who doesn't use them. He hits a 2-iron, and he's good at it. It's annoying because you shouldn't be good at that.
I know a guy that hits the 4-iron pretty much every time.
Yeah, but a 4-iron's like a normal club. 2-iron, it's just a blade.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough about our golf games. I do want to get into a little Patriots before we get out of here. Or if you want to join, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sport.
Boston Sports, we're fans just like you. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Join us here in about 20 minutes, 617-779-0985. The Red Sox have lost, so that game's over. It's still going to be a season, though, because the American League just can't get it together. 4-1 loss. Peyton Tolley gives up a couple home runs early. 5 innings, 3 runs, 7 hits, 4 Ks. But I put this one more on the lineup. You get 1 run on 8 hits.
Yeah, and the guy that started for them today, Nick Martinez, he's having a good year.
For the Rays, you're saying.
Right. So it's not like they couldn't score against like some stiff. He's having a good year, but I think that just underlines what we were talking about earlier. If your starting pitching doesn't dominate, you're not going to have a good chance of winning games with this lineup.
Well, and even once he came out, the Rays bullpen threw 3 1/3, 1 hit, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. Mowed him down in the late innings.
That's what you need. You need pitching and defense. Yes, you need that stuff to win. You also need timely hitting, right? You don't have to have the best offense in baseball necessarily.
Right.
But you got to have star power, guys that you can rely on to come up with big hits and big moments against top-end talent, like the guys where the talent's going to take over. You can't just play matchups all the way to a championship. I think we've seen enough of that with these analytics teams. Like, that's my issue with analytics is that, yes, like, good, the Dodgers have a lot of analytics, right?
Right.
But they know that talent wins. You can't have analytics be the thing that carries you all the way.
Meanwhile, just Red Sox had 8 hits. Mickey Gasper, who is the backup catcher first baseman that was called up to replace Roman Anthony on the IL. Mickey Gasper goes 3 for 4. Andrew Montesario, who replaced Wilson Contreras, who left this game early after he got hit in the hand with a pitch, went 2 for 3. So the two guys at the back of the bench went a combined 5 for 7. And you got 3 hits from the rest of the lineup. Duran went 1 for 5. Yoshida went 1 for 3. Trevor Story went 1 for 4.
Carlos Narvaez pinch hitting, 0 for 1 strikeout.
Great performance by the local baseball team. Let's go. Barry and Newton has a Patriots question. I wanted to talk a little Patriots today, so this works. Barry, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey.
It's just you're doing some golf talk. I just had like one of my best rounds I've ever played, so
Love it.
I'm in a good mood right now.
Love it. That's a great feeling, isn't it?
Yes, for sure. Just wanted to see if you guys thought the Patriots pass rush was good enough going into the season. Losing Chase on, I know we picked up Yakis, but just wondering how you guys feel about that. And do you think there's anyone on the outside, maybe was it Swinson from last year's draft? Could he come along? Is there anyone that can kind of fill in the cracks for what we lost? Thanks.
Yeah, Barry, thanks for the call. It's a good question. The pass rush to me is going to be one of the big things we're watching. Also, side note, I can't wait to hear Boston radio callers try to pronounce Gabe Akis' name for the next 4+ years. Do I think they're good enough? Maybe. I don't know. I think they can be. If Harold Landry's back and healthy and all's right with his knee and he can be the player he was in the first half of last year, and Gabe Akis justifies that 55th pick, and he's like an 8-9 sack guy and a guy that's playing really good in in-between situations, right? And then you mix in Draymond Jones and Elijah Ponder and those guys. That's a good group. That's good enough. I don't know that's, it's probably about middle of the pack in terms of pass rush. I wouldn't call it a strength. I wouldn't call it a weakness. I think that unit is fine. But again, that's if Harold Landry is healthy and if Gabe Akis kind of hits the ground running as a rookie. I think the Akis one is the more likely of the two, but I think you would need both because it drops off after that. Elijah Ponder, nice rotational player last year, but that's kind of what he is. He played 200 snaps last year. So it's not a big sample size. I think that's probably about you want him playing. And then you kind of want 5 players. That's 4. So he mentioned Braden Swinson, who they drafted last year. Quint Hutchins, who they drafted this year in the 7th round out of Boston College. Elliott Wolf did mention wanting speed off the edge. Those are speed guys. So there is a role for them. It's going to be very rotational, very situational. Do either of those guys pop? I don't know. I think Hutchins is probably more of a special teams player. Swinson had some flashes at LSU. There was some reporting that he fell maybe because more of his coachability than his talent. So can they tap into him? He'll be a player to watch in training camp. Can he do that thing that Josh Uche did, that Anthony Jennings did, where they didn't hit as rookies, but they kind of came out later on? But it might be positionally the biggest question on the roster, honestly. I don't think that it has the lowest floor, but that's maybe or I don't think it has the lowest ceiling, but it might be the lowest floor. Like, they can be good enough, but they're going to need a couple of what ifs to go their way.
Yeah, they have a chance to be, better than last year, but then what is that, right? So I think we came out of this year saying they were fine, but not good enough if they want to win the Super Bowl or to be a legitimate Super Bowl caliber defense. So there's a chance that they improve with a healthy Landry, and if Akis, like you said, like his play strength translates immediately and like he makes an immediate impact. But I just don't see it. I feel like we're going to come out of this season again saying they still need more pass rush help. I don't know where they're going to get it, but they still need to add to that group. Like, I don't think they added enough. I think essentially they basically treaded water. Like, they retooled. I liked the Draymond Jones signing too on the defensive line, but he's more of like a Swiss Army knife type, not a franchise altering player by any means. So
he's a complimentary rusher.
I really like Gabe Akis, but unless he's in the conversation for defensive rookie of the year, I don't see the pass rush as a group really popping next year.
So I will say, Landry last year over the first 7 games had 5.5 sacks. That's like a 13 sack pace. If they get 13 sacks out of Harold Landry, they probably are in pretty good shape. And that's going to create opportunities for other guys because he's going to start to get attention, and it's going to be easier on Akis, and it's going to be easier on Draymond Jones. But that was before he hurt his knee. And as Mike Vrabel told us at the owners' meetings, like, he's still going through rehab. Over the final 8 games of the regular season, he only had 3 sacks.
Yeah, I think that's a lot to ask of a linebacker in his 30s coming off a knee injury.
Right, and if that's the pace you get out of him, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a 6-sack pace. If he's your leader in sacks with 6, that's not a great place to be, I would say.
First half of like pre-knee injury last year, if they get that version of Landry back, they're in pretty good shape.
If it's that, and then Akis just kind of comes along, even as an average rookie. Okay, like, again, you're not the 2000s Ravens, but that's a representative group. I think with what you have in the secondary, that group will allow you to be successful defensively. I'm just worried about them getting no push on the outside. Now you can start to add more attention to the middle, and it's easier to help in the middle than it is on the outside. You can neutralize Christian Barmore. You can neutralize Milton Williams, and they need that guy on the outside that's going to keep teams honest. And I think the hope is really that it's Akis.
Yeah.
More so than Landry. Like, you draft a guy that high, that's the hope.
They had trouble stopping the run on the edge, too, and like that showed up at the Super Bowl.
That I think they've invested more in. Like, I feel better about Draymond Jones, the run stopper, than pass rusher.
Yeah.
Short term, I feel better about Akis as a run player. I think he has more pass rush ceiling, but that's got to be tapped into. I think they made a point of getting better on the edge against the run. But where are they going to be rushing the passer is the question.
Right. I think ultimately, no matter how it shakes out, whether everyone's healthy, injuries, whatever, we're going to come out of next season saying that this might still be the number one need on the team. And I know people still want to point to wide receiver, and I know there might be long-term questions about how all the pieces fit on the offensive line, but they really address those positions aggressively. And that's assuming that the A.J. Brown trade is a done deal at wide receiver too. So they really invested in like high draft capital, high-priced players coming in. Haven't really done that on the edge, and so I feel like that's going to be the last frontier of the rebuild, so to speak.
Which is funny because going into this rebuild, who was their best player? Matthew Judon.
There you go.
And that was kind of the unfortunate thing about Matthew Judon was, as great of a player as he was, you could kind of see it coming that he's not going to be this guy if he's even still here when they turn the corner on this.
Right.
You kind of saw that one coming. He's a fun player, good. Command locker. I mean, he was the as a player. I mean, you still had Bill, but he was the face of the Patriots post Brady. Between Drake May and Tom Brady, like he was the face of the team much more than Mac Jones.
Yeah.
So
great on the field, great off the field. You know.
And I think even now, especially look back on it, like the spat he has with Gerard Mayo at training camp. kind of hard to hold that one against him.
He might have been onto something.
Might have been onto something.
The regime he was working with there.
You mentioned A.J. Brown real quick. Where are you at? There's been reporting that it could be a 2028 first. You doing that?
That part is surprising to me, Barth. I didn't think they would have to give that up. That
I
tells
hope
me
they don't.
That tells me that there's a chance that other teams are going to swoop in last minute. Like something's going to come up. Like the Rams all of a sudden feel like they need Brown. Like,
or are the Eagles leaking that to try to up the Patriots offer, or get somebody else to offer first?
I mean, that's one of the top discussions of the whole offseason is leaking information to get what you want.
That is
trade,
true.
right?
Because it does happen, believe it or not, and it's happened for a long time. It's not new.
Can you believe that reporters say what GMs tell them? I can't believe it.
Your buddy Tony there in San Francisco?
I think I accidentally became friends with him. I don't know if you saw our Twitter interaction.
Keep me posted.
I was just like, how long could you go with this bit? And he's like, thanks for watching.
It might not be a bit. I wouldn't love doing a 2028 first for A.J. Brown. I think I'd ultimately do it because you got to help Drake May. To me, the ideal trade, and look, I know some people get squeamish about 27 picks because this draft is supposed to be so good, which, like, don't get me wrong, it is at the top. The top end talent in this draft compared to what we've had the last 2 years is night and day with guys like Jeremiah Smith, Colin Simmons, Dylan Stewart, Leonard Moore. But the idea is that, like, because you have this rare top end talent, that's going to push guys further down. It's now the middle's better and all that. If I hear one more Patriots fan, well, no, they can't trade the 27 pick. The wide receiver class is going to be so good. Jeremiah Smith. If the Patriots are picking high enough to draft Jeremiah Smith, things have gone horribly, horribly wrong. There are much bigger issues than simply, oh, no, they traded that pick for A.J. Brown. If they get A.J. Brown, Jeremiah Smith's going to be a top 3 pick. Unless, again, something goes horribly wrong for him. Or something, or Colin Simmons, they need an edge rusher. Colin Simmons, Dylan Stewart, those are top 5 picks. You can't hold on to that pick like it is top 5 value because you should not be expecting that pick to be in the top 5. They might win fewer games than last year, sure. They might not pick 31 again. Like 16, 17, 18, to me, is as low as they should be picking. I'm not holding on to that pick like it's going to be a top 5 pick because if they're picking in the top 5, they are screwed. Something terrible happened. So you should not be rooting for them to draft Jeremiah Smith if you're a Patriots fan.
You can't, like, protect picks, right? You have to do conditional stuff. Like, they got to do something like that. You can't trade that pick straight up.
That's where I was going. That's right. I would say the deal I think that makes both sides look good is it is a second round, 2027 second round pick that becomes a first if the Patriots make the playoffs. So the highest that pick can be, I think, is 16, right? Whatever that right? If you miss the playoffs, so it's essentially top 15 protected. It's lottery protected, the non-playoff teams. That, to me, is a win-win. I would trade the 17th, 18th, 19th pick for A.J. Brown.
Right. I think they just need to protect themselves against something going sideways. Drake May goes down, and all of a sudden you're talking about a 6-7 win team, and you sneak it into the top 10, and then the Eagles get that pick. That would be a brutal break.
So even 18 is the lowest non-playoff team. So you're talking about essentially if the pick is 18 or higher, it becomes 33 to 50 something. I would trade the 19th overall pick for A.J. Brown. I think that's fine. I wouldn't give up anything more. It's not going to be that but I would give up the 19th overall pick for A.J. Brown.
Yeah, if you're projecting it out that way, right?
Well, that's if it's conditional second round or conditional first round, but becomes a second second round, but becomes a first if they make the playoffs. The highest that pick could be is 19. 19 is the worst team that got bounced wild card weekend.
Shouldn't the condition be a little higher than making the playoffs, though?
I think that's kind of how you have to do it. Although usually it's done based on the player. But again, if you make it, okay, it's a second that becomes a first if A.J. Brown is 1,000 yards. If A.J. Brown is 1,000 yards, what are the odds the Patriots aren't making the playoffs? Pretty low, right? So something like that. Yeah, I'd protect it like that.
Yeah, do whatever you can to protect the pick. But yeah, like that would be my concern is that, yeah, I get it. The draft is a little top heavy compared to how people describe it. But you got to protect yourself against the Eagles.
You have to protect yourself, but you also can't be afraid of, well, I want to get Dylan Stewart on the Patriots. Okay. So you want them to win 3 games? Like, because that's what that means. And well, they could use it to trade up. Even from 15 in this draft, trading up to 3 is not realistic. You want to trade Drake May? Like, then you can draft Dylan Stewart. And I love Dylan Stewart. Dylan Stewart's a freak. He is going to be maybe a 20-sack player in the NFL.
He was giving Will Campbell a tough time.
He gave everybody a tough time.
As like a freshman, though.
As a true freshman. He is it's the size, the speed, the flexibility. Unbelievable. One of the best edge rusher prospects. He might go in that like Von Miller, Myles Garrett conversation as a prospect. We'll see how it plays out, but as a prospect.
Sure.
I don't want the Patriots to be bad enough to draft that guy.
No.
I don't. I really don't.
Well, this whole thing tells me that they don't plan on being that bad. I think they.
I hope they don't.
They're trading a first-round pick for A.J. Brown. If they're trading a first-round pick for A.J. Brown, I mean, that tells me that they're in the win-now window. They want to win while Drake May's on his rookie contract. Or they're going to pay him $70 million or whatever the hell it's going to be. So they want to go for it now. So I don't blame him for that.
Real quick before we wrap it up, you going to watch the roast of Kevin Hart tonight?
I'll watch it. Yeah, I think Kevin Hart's a good choice for the roastee. He's going to have funny reactions. Yeah. There's some obvious things they could poke fun at.
Shane Gillis is the roast master.
That's good. That's good.
Coming right from Boston. It's the first roast since Brady, right?
The first Netflix one, I think.
Yeah, like big one. Yeah. So, I don't know. That might be good. Figured I'd bring that up. We were going to do some roast stuff, but we did a bunch of Celtics, which was awesome. That was fun. Bunch of Bruins, Patriots, and Red Sox. Thanks to everybody for tuning in.
There better be fireworks this offseason, Barth. Bruins and Celtics. We need some fireworks.
It's almost 4th of July because it is summer. So we don't have any Patriots Hub podcast to plug because it is the summer. So actually, I did one with Lazar yesterday on Rookie Minicamp. Check that out. But besides that,
Lazar doesn't count.
You can find all our work on 98.5thesportshub.com. Myself, Matt, Ty Anderson, George. Great job as always behind the glass.
Thanks, George.
Again, a very happy Mother's Day to everybody's mothers out there, you and yours, and to all the mothers out there. Very happy Mother's Day. Thank you. You spent part of it listening to sports radio. Impressive. You pulled that off. I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Mother, there is no other like mother, so treat her right.